Live from the Aurora TV studio at the Aurora Municipal Center, this is Aurora Votes Election Night 2021. Tonight's coverage features the first available election returns, interviews with candidates, analysis of the results, and special guests. Now please join us for Aurora Votes Election Night 2021.
Good evening and welcome to Aurora Votes Election Night 2021. I'm Wendy Brockman, your host for this special night of live election coverage here on Aurora TV. Moments ago, the ballot collection process came to an end and the results are being counted as we speak. They're coming from all across Aurora, which sits in 3 different counties, Arapahoe, Adams, and Douglas. We'll have the first returns for you in just a short while. It's a big night. There are a total of 5 council seats up for election. Those include Wards 1, 2, 3, and 2 at-large seats. Tonight, we'll bring you the very latest returns on all of these races, plus interviews with the candidates, special features, and guests. It's going to be a full night of coverage, and I can't do it alone. Helping me out here is an amazing team. First, I'd like to introduce our election analyst, Rick Crandall, joining me here at the election night desk. Many of our viewers may recognize him from the numerous stories we've done about the Colorado Freedom Memorial. Rick is the president of the Memorial Foundation and the driving force in getting that memorial funded and built. And some of our viewers may also know Rick from his many years at KEZW Radio. Rick, it is a real pleasure having you with me this evening. You're a longtime Aurora resident. You're very engaged in the community, and we love a good local election.
We do, especially this election after the last couple of years.
Sure.
This whole new world we live in, pandemic, and how that's affected everybody. A council that's been a little bit split down the middle here the last couple of months, how this will change that one direction or another. So it's an exciting night. The future, the at least more immediate direction of where Aurora is headed is going to be changed tonight.
Aurora City Hall is up for grabs. The stakes are high for sure.
Yep.
Now, if I'm Frank Gifford, you're my Don Meredith.
Perfect.
You're the color guy.
All right.
You
perfect.
good with that?
I'll take that.
Okay, good. Let me introduce another important person with our election night coverage, one of our co-anchors on Aurora Now, Matt Peterson. Matt, you did such a great job in our 2019 election coverage. So once again, you're going to be the numbers guy. You have a sports background. You're going to bring us up-to-the-minute results as they come in. So you're like the Howard Cosell.
Yeah, I would love to be like Howard Cosell. That sounds amazing. You guys brought me back to the big leagues again. And Wendy, as you mentioned, the numbers guy. And there's really 2 things I love in this world: numbers and everybody doing their civic duty. So tonight is my Super Bowl. I am excited. We're going to bring in you up-to-date results as they kind of come into us. So we'll be checking out periodically. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm pumped to get the show underway.
All right, we're excited. Now, though this is a mail ballot election and voters have been sending back or dropping off their ballots for a few weeks now, there's always those who wait until the last minute. So Matt Peterson was actually out earlier today and brings us this look at Election Day in Aurora.
Leaves are falling, sky's a bit gray. Yep, in Aurora, that means it's Election Day. Gone this year was a drive-through drop-off at City Hall, but voters still came out and answered the call.
It's our civic duty.
My vote does count. Every voice needs to be heard.
It's your civic duty, and secondly, you definitely need to participate in your community.
So many choices to satisfy your palate. Some said they never miss an opportunity to fill out a ballot.
People gave their lives up. People went to jail. Excruciating experiences just to get us the right to vote. So that's why I vote every time we have an election.
These are the people who are going to be making decisions for what happens here, not in Washington.
While others are feeling a bit sublime, casting their vote for the very first time.
It's actually my sister's first time voting.
My brothers have done it in the past. I think I've always wanted to do it as well.
We're not just voting for ourselves, but we're voting for our future.
It makes like such a huge impact. I'm really excited and also kind of nervous.
Now each vote has the same goal, and each vote plays the same role.
If we want a better Aurora, we've got to work for it and do everything we can to make it happen.
The betterment of our own society. People need to vote because if you don't vote, nothing changes.
And certainly no shame in the delay. Kudos to you, even if you turn it in on the last day.
I forgot.
Kind of brain farted it, yeah, I'll be honest.
I needed to collect my information, have time to process.
More information, just kind of do my homework.
Main thing is to make sure you have all the information. You got to be informed.
Here in Aurora, we're lucky to have a choice and need to always remember our vote is our voice.
I was in that line at the library, and everyone was in a really good mood, I have to say. Now, all those last-minute ballots dropped off today around the city are on their way to the appropriate county election offices in Arapahoe, Adams, and Douglas counties, and they're being tallied right now at each office. So to get the final total vote across the city, the Aurora City Clerk's office will be adding the totals together when wards are in more than one county. Of course, the at-large vote will include the tally from all three counties. So once the Aurora City Clerk tallies those votes, those returns will be released directly to us. And while we believe those numbers to be accurate, we want to stress that they are unofficial. It can take several days for the votes to be canvassed and deemed official, especially if it's a close race and a recount is needed. So, as we wait for our first returns, let me give Rick a chance to weigh in with his first thoughts on what he's looking to this evening ahead.
So, first thoughts were there'd been some indication early on in the weeks previous that maybe ballots were slow to come in, maybe it was going to be a low turnout. And then I turned the corner up here and the lines from the Aurora Public Library to the AMC in the parking lot, right? And there's cars backed up, and it's been that way through the night. And I just think that's an encouraging sign. If it's happening here, hopefully it's happening at some of the auxiliary sites as well. Hopefully people are doing that. They're understanding that this is a big election for the city of Aurora. This is important in so many different aspects. And the good thing about it is, you know what, we get a chance to shape what direction the city's going, and I'm excited to see people doing that.
I'm excited as well. All right, so as we await our first returns, we're going to take a look at the candidates that are running in Ward 1.
Ward 1 is located in the northwest part of Aurora, and it features the Anschutz Medical Campus, the Cultural Arts District, and the Stanley Marketplace. There are 3 candidates running for the Ward 1 council seat. Bill Gondrez and his family first arrived in Aurora in 1992. After being reassigned to Korea, he returned to assignment at the Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center as a chaplain's fund manager. After retiring from the Army, Mr. Gondrez spent another 16 years as a hospital chaplain. While living in Ward 1, he's taken on several community service projects, and he served on a variety of local boards and committees. Currently, he is an educator at Kenton Elementary School. Crystal Murillo is a lifelong resident of Aurora and graduated from Smoky Hill High School in 2011. She continued on to the University of Denver, where she was the first in her family to earn a bachelor's degree. Ms. Murillo continues to serve her alma mater today as the diversity coordinator. She was the youngest and first Latina to be elected to the Aurora City Council in 2017. While on council, Ms. Murillo has served on several boards and commissions as a local government representative. Scott Leva returned to Aurora in 2015 when looking for an affordable home in the Denver metro area. He's been living in Colorado since 1996. He currently is employed as a state utility plant operator and previously served as an engineering director for a property management company.
Traditional wisdom says it's tough to unseat an incumbent. Does Crystal Murillo have it in the bag? I don't know.
I don't know that either, although I will say that I think Crystal positioned herself well the last couple of years by embracing the needs of her ward so clearly. She was the chair of the housing committee, understanding that affordable housing is probably of the most importance in Ward 1. I think Bill recognized that as well, talked about incentives for first-time home buyers in Ward 1. You know, in a ward that's been impacted like everywhere else in Aurora with rising house prices, yes. So being priced out of their own neighborhood. So in the bag, I don't know who's got it in the bag tonight, but I think it'll be fun to watch Ward 1 all night.
I agree. Moving on to Ward 2, the big news earlier this year was the resignation of Ward 2 council member Nicole Johnston. She stepped down to move her family to the Colorado Springs area. Before she left, she sat down with Aurora TV to talk about the accomplishments she was most proud of and what the future holds. And she offered up some advice for whomever ends up filling her position tonight.
please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Having been duly elected to the City Council for the City of Aurora, Colorado.
Johnston was sworn in 2017 to represent Ward 2, which is the northeast part of the city and home to Buckley Space Force Base. It was the first time she had ever run for office, but she says she's thankful for the support she got then and now.
I know I was underestimated. I was a single mom who had never been in politics before. And I had people who just took the chance and believed in me.
Despite being new, it didn't stop her from trying and succeeding in making a difference for our community. Former Councilmember Johnston says she is proud of a number of accomplishments, including her work on police reform in Aurora, the city's new oil and gas manual, getting city sponsorship for Aurora Pride at the Aurora Reservoir, her work with the NAACP to encourage more diverse applicants for the city's Civil Service Commission, and campaign finance reform.
I put in the section that childcare expenses are an allowable campaign expense, and we are one of the first cities in the state. It's probably one of the few in the country that allows for that, and I think this will really be able to support more parents with young kids to run for office.
And as for regrets,
I wish I had more time with constituents to hear more of their concerns and maybe come up with more policies and address issues that I didn't even know were happening but were important to the constituents.
Johnston says she also wishes she would still be on council when an independent oversight committee for police is finalized. Lastly, we asked her last summer what advice she had for whomever council appoints to fill her seat.
It's very personal to me because at the end of the day, the most important part of being a Ward 2 representative is to serve my constituents. So I want someone who would really put constituents first. I did run on more of a progressive platform, and I won with pretty large margins. And I hope that the person who is appointed still continues those values, which is what the voters wanted.
As it turned out, council was unable to come to an agreement on who to appoint to the Ward 2 seat, so it's remained open until this election. Rick, a brief comment on Nicole.
So the Colorado Freedom Memorial is in Ward 2, so I was engaged with Nicole on several things that we do out there. She could not have been more supportive. I felt as a constituent that way, she really was concerned for my project, what we were doing, and I appreciated that very much.
We wish her and her family all the best.
Absolutely.
Moving forward. All right, there are 4 candidates running to fill vacant Ward 2 council seat. Let's take a closer look at the Ward 2 council race.
Ward 2 is located in the northeast part of Aurora and is the largest ward in terms of square miles. It features developments like the Gaylord Rockies Resort, the Aurora Highlands, and extensive warehouse and distribution centers. There are 4 candidates running for the Ward 2 council seat. Robert Hamilton is a native of rural Ohio and made Aurora his home 15 years ago. He graduated from Bowling Green University in 2003 and then completed an MBA at the University of Colorado in 2015. Mr. Hamilton has worked as a consultant and has more than 2 decades of experience in financial, operational, and information technology. He also applied to serve as the Ward 2 appointee earlier this year. Brian Lindstrom grew up in Aurora and has always called Aurora home. He attended Aurora Public Schools and today is a civics teacher at Hinckley High School. Lindstrom has served as a board member on the Aurora Education Association, which he said solidified his desire to serve the community. Before becoming a teacher, Mr. Lindstrom attended the University of Northern Colorado. Mr. Lindstrom previously unsuccessfully ran for city council seat in Ward 6 before moving out of that ward to Ward 2. Steve Sundberg is a longtime Aurora resident and manager of Legends of Aurora Sports Grill. He holds degrees from Colorado State University and the University of Phoenix. He currently serves as a member for the Aurora Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and is the chair of Leadership Aurora. He served in numerous other volunteer capacities over the past 25 years. Mr. Sundberg also sought an appointment to the Ward 2 council seat. Jessica Giamalvo is a systems software engineer in the private sector after first arriving in Aurora to serve at what was then Buckley Air Force Base. She decided against re-enlisting in 2016 to ensure that Aurora would remain her home. Ms. Giamalvo has a physics degree from Stonehill College and graduated last year from Colorado Technical University with a master's degree. She also applied to serve as the Ward 2 appointee earlier this year.
And those are our Ward 2 candidates. An interesting mix. Ward 2 is a big happening area right now.
Yeah, it's huge. We'll get into it as the evening goes along, but everything that's happening in Ward 2. But the one thing about the candidates in Ward 2, I think, from paying attention this week, they very clearly showed you where they stood on just about everything. There was really no, gosh, I really wonder what he means or she means. You knew.
You knew.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Well, Nicole Johnston vacated her Ward 2 seat on council before fully completing her first term. In Ward 3, we have a completely different situation. Ward 3 council member Marcia Berzins has served 3 terms on council and, based on city charter, was term limited from running again. During her 12 years, she's accomplished a lot and certainly seen many changes in our city. Let's take a look. Welcome to Ward 3, home of the Aurora Municipal Center, these famous dancing A's, RTD's Metro Center Station, and more.
I've represented this area of Ward 3 since 2009.
It's seen a lot of growth over the years, something Councilmember Marcia Berzins is proud of. Her greatest accomplishments representing the area include projects that have come to fruition.
I want to welcome the future of Parkside because it has a bright future.
Like this once blighted strip mall on the corner of Alameda and Sable, turned into a vibrant mixed-use development, or other plans that are still in the works.
One thing in Ward 3 was the Fanfare building coming down and the new Argenta project going up.
It's a huge piece of property on Havana and 3rd that she says gave her and city staff a run for their money.
It used to be an open market. Then it was AT&T bought it for a call center. I believe when AT&T moved out, dirt and plants actually started growing in the roof. And it was tested and the concrete had asbestos in it.
In 2013, the old bubble building was demoed, and after all these years, it is turning into a spot where you can live, work, and play. Other proud moments extend beyond her ward's boundaries.
In the whole city, it would be the Gaylord Hotel.
As we introduce this project, this is a once-in-a-lifetime unique opportunity. It can fundamentally change how Aurora is seen.
I had the opportunity to visit a Gaylord property a few months ago, and I spoke with a lot of the employees, and they just could not say enough good things about their employer. We had to look at the long term in order to get this passed.
And it is approved on a vote of 8-0.
It's just booming out there already, and in the big picture, Gaylord's just getting started.
Whether it's big business or budget issues, her constituents are always top of mind.
The water rates were scheduled to go up 10% every year for so many years. And no, this can't happen. So they actually refinanced some of the bonds, and water rates stayed low.
As for advice for incoming council members,
listen to your residents. Listen to what they have to say. And I am always available. You have my cell phone number. Call me anytime. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve. And all the voters of Ward 3, thank you. And I am humbled. I have to give a lot of credit to my family, my husband, my kids. They've been there with me every minute. And that means the world to have that.
Rick, she's been a champion of her constituents.
Yeah, one of the good people, you know, the example of a citizen who's just concerned about her community, wants to serve, wants to make a difference. That was Marcia.
Yep. Well, as Marcia Berzins' time on City Council comes to a close, there are 2 candidates vying to fill her Ward 3 council seat. Let's have a look at that race.
Ward 3 is located in the west central part of Aurora and features the town center at Aurora Shopping Mall, Aurora City Hall, and Delaney Farm. There are 2 candidates running to fill the Ward 3 council seat. Ruben Medina is a project manager, organizer, wrestling coach, and former firefighter. He has most recently worked as a senior recreational specialist in the city of Aurora. Mr. Medina has served on several boards, including the Denver Foundation and Rise Colorado, working to educate, engage, and empower low-income families and families of color. Mr. Medina is originally from Southern Colorado. He ran for the Ward 2 seat in 2017. John O. Scott grew up in Aurora and is now raising his own family in Ward 3. He is the longtime pastor of Woodside Baptist Church in Denver and the current director of the Kingdom Giving Food Bank. Mr. Scott holds an undergraduate degree in biblical studies and a master's degree in religious education. He has also served on the Citizens Advisory Budget Committee.
All right, 2 candidates in Ward 3. I mean, this will be the first time we've had new leadership in Ward 3 since 2009.
Yeah, it will be. And again, 2 candidates, 2 pretty clear agendas and what they think needs to happen in the city. And 2 gentlemen that went about it in a very gentlemanly way.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we've talked about that. I think Jono said if Ruben was my neighbor, we'd get along just fine.
Yep.
We like to see that in politics.
Yes, we do. All right. Well, moving on to the at-large race this year, we have 6 candidates competing for 2 available seats. Both of the at-large incumbent council members whose terms were up this year, Dave Gruber and Allison Hiltz, decided not to run, which really opened up the at-large race. So before we look at those 6 candidates, let's take a look back at the legacy of the outgoing at-large council members, beginning with Dave Gruber.
Very few have more leadership experience than Dave Gruber. A retired Air Force colonel, Gruber wanted to take the values he learned serving our nation to our city council dais.
Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do.
Those values, coupled with Gruber's strong ties to the Aurora business and military community, helped him win an at-large seat in 2017. And from the get-go, Gruber signed up for just 4 years.
They wanted somebody on council with the experience. Been a base commander. I'd had thousands of employees. I'd worked in the business community. I'd never had a desire to be a politician.
As a former base commander for then Buckley Air Force Base, the at-large council member knew the city needed to maintain strong ties with Buckley.
So working with the state, working with the base, working with the city, the team was able to purchase the land surrounding Buckley Air Force Base to ensure that the noise parameters or the noise zones were owned by the government as opposed to any housing. And that will enable Buckley Air Force Base to survive where many other bases during the base realignment and closure process could close because their runway would close. It's critical to have an active runway in order to keep a military base. And we've taken the steps to ensure that that base will be there for a long, long time.
Now, it wasn't just military. Gruber worked with land and mineral rights owners as well as oil and gas companies to develop operator and environmental agreements for those who wanted to drill.
Environmental protections that we put in, the best management practices that we put in, and the relationships that we built between the city, the oil companies, and the mineral rights owners and surface use agreement owners set the standard in the United States. I'm very, very proud of the environmental protections that we put into place.
With Aurora growing by the day, Gruber says his biggest accomplishment was helping to develop the northeast portion of Aurora near the airport. From businesses to housing and roads, that area is set to be a hub for decades to come.
The Northeast is getting ready to explode. Major roads that Aurora has been working on that I've had the opportunity to participate in are huge for the future of the city.
With Gruber stepping away, he hopes to spend more time with family and stresses that whoever takes his seat, remember a healthy work-life balance.
Don't let the job consume you. Don't get sucked into the point where that's all you think about throughout the day. And we live in a great city. We have great potential. We have tremendous people living here now. Our diversity is very important to us. Continue to focus on the future. Continue to focus on making Aurora an even more spectacular city.
Rick, Colonel Gruber has certainly led a life of service to his community and the nation.
He has, and as a result of Dave being on the city council, we have a better relationship with Buckley and all of the military there. So good job for Dave.
Yes. Well, as we mentioned, Allison Hiltz also decided not to run again. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of her last 4 years on city council. Ignite hope, spark action. That was at-large council member Allison Hiltz's campaign slogan when she ran for office in 2017. Not only did the first-time candidate win, but she's tried to stay true to that saying throughout her term.
We wanted to add a one-time ad for $715,230.
The first item, actually, that I brought forward was a budget ask for a second set of bunker gear for the fire department.
And for literally every day that we wait, we are putting people more at risk.
The gear, which includes protective jackets and trousers, are fire resistant, but need to be cleaned between uses to lessen exposure to lingering smoke and other hazards. So having a second set makes that possible. And it's now a part of the budget every year.
Knowing that was done on a permanent basis is something that was really important to me, because we need to be making sure that we're taking care of those who take care of us.
Another accomplishment Councilmember Hiltz takes pride in is introducing changing lives through literature to Aurora.
That's just a personal passion of mine, literacy, and so being able to see that come, and it's the first in the state for Colorado for that program, and it's been quite successful.
It's an alternative type of sentencing that uses reading and discussion to teach lessons in hopes of preventing people who've committed a minor crime from becoming repeat offenders. Councilmember Hiltz was also responsible for repealing the pit bull ban in Aurora, as well as working with Congressman Crow, whose district includes our city, to create a notification system for the Geo Detention Center here. It requires the private immigration facility to report communicable diseases directly to our fire department. And another accomplishment she's proud of is sponsoring the Aurora Mobile Response Team. The pilot program pairs a paramedic with a clinician to respond to mental health calls instead of police when there's no violence or weapon involved. And when it comes to APD,
not being here to be able to see those recommendations put forward and actually put into place after such a long process of getting here is something that I will regret not being able to be a part of.
Councilmember Hiltz served as the chair of the city's Public Safety Committee in 2020 and says the group was having the same conversations and reaching the same conclusions that have since come out of the Colorado Attorney General's Patterns and Practices Report and other investigations. And as for advice for future council members,
we're all individuals and we all have our own things that we want to do, but we also are elected public servants, and we represent all nearly 400,000 people in the city, and we need to make sure that we're hearing all of those voices. We are here to represent Aurora, and that should really be the primary focus.
She's made her mark.
Yeah, you know, there's that old saying about if you only surround yourself with people that are like you, you'll never change, right? Allison forced people to think differently a bit and change the city a bit, and we're better for that.
All right. We have a wide open at-large race with no incumbents running and 6 candidates competing for 2 available at-large seats. Let's take a close look now at the 2021 Aurora City Council at-large race.
With the population approaching 390,000, Aurora is the 3rd largest city in Colorado and the 52nd largest in the country. Aurora has a robust economy anchored in aerospace, medicine, medical research, hospitality, logistics, and many other areas. There are 6 candidates running to fill 2 available at-large seats on City Council. Candace Bailey has called Aurora home since childhood. She has served on several local and state boards and commissions, most recently Aurora's Community Police Task Force, which set out recommendations to improve police relations with local residents. She's also served on the Citizens Advisory Budget Committee, State of Colorado Child Welfare and Domestic Violence Task Force, and the Colorado Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Miss Bailey lives in Ward 4, where she runs a small business. Hannah Bogale is a 9-year Aurora resident who was born in Ethiopia and then immigrated to the United States while a student. She graduated from Aurora Public Schools and then continued on to Metropolitan State University to study biology before choosing an entrepreneurial journey. Ms. Bogale is a board member of the Ethiopian American Civic Council and serves on the Community College of Denver Business Administration Advisory Board. Becky Hogan serves as the chair of Korean Committee Aurora Sister Cities International and sits on the city's Planning and Zoning Commission. She is a 19-year resident of Aurora and got to know the ins and outs of city government while her husband Steve Hogan served as mayor. While having a background in economic development, Ms. Hogan has prioritized community service through food drives, multicultural events, and most recently, managing COVID equity clinics. Danielle Jurinsky is an Aurora native and graduated from Overland High School. After graduation, she joined the Air Force and then served 9 years in the Air National Guard, spending most of her time in the military at Buckley Air Force Base. Ms. Jurinsky is also a real estate agent who owns 2 restaurant and bar businesses in Aurora. She is currently a member of the city's Citizen Budget Advisory Committee. John Ronquillo is an assistant professor of nonprofit and public management at CU Denver School of Public Affairs. He was previously a candidate in Aurora State House District 40 Democratic primary. He sits on several civic boards, including the Colorado COVID-19 Eviction Defense Projects Advisory Council, the Board of Hispanic Community Organization Serviosos de la Raza, and the Arapahoe County Foundation's Board of Directors, a fundraising arm of county government. Dustin Zavanek is a local business owner and consultant with roots in Colorado conservative political circles. He formerly worked in Mike Kaufman's congressional office with Americans for Prosperity and other political groups in Colorado. He currently sits on the city's Citizens Budget Advisory Committee. He lives in Southeast Aurora with his wife and 3 children who attend Cherry Creek schools.
What a diverse group. We're going to spend some time breaking that race down.
We'll get into that in a bit, but that is a really cool group of people
Isn't
to talk
it?
about as the night goes along.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about all of them. Well, of course, we're going to have a lot more to say about the at-large race and all the other races throughout the evening. We'll also have some special guests and interviews coming up. When we come back, we're going to have our first scheduled release of returns for the evening. But if you've been watching carefully in the past few minutes, the little ticker right there at the bottom of the screen has started up, and we're giving you an early sneak peek at the returns that we're getting. So please keep in mind these are early and we don't have a good sense for how much of the vote they represent yet. So keep it right here on Comcast Channel 8 and streaming live on the web at auroratv.org as Election Night 2021 continues.
Hey, have you heard AuroraTV.org got a virtual makeover and we want you to check it out.
Gearing up for the day, we all know that Colorado weather can be pretty unpredictable. That's why we added a new weather weekly forecast. While you're there, check out our local traffic cams in real time. On the homepage, scroll down to the very bottom to see what's trending on the city's Twitter and Facebook page. Remember, you can still watch live programming, search for videos by category like arts and entertainment, or an entire series like City Council or our weekly newscast, Aurora Now. Scroll down and find each show's related links and stories. Want to search for your favorite segments? Click on the video's link and type in a keyword. Get this, sharing stories to social media is super easy. Just click on the Facebook or Twitter icons and voila! AuroraTV.org, your city, your community, your Aurora.
I don't remember how it started.
North of that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look! Live from the Aurora TV studio at the Aurora Municipal Center, this is Aurora Votes Election Night 2021.
Welcome back to Aurora Votes Election Night 2021 here on Aurora TV. I'm Wendy Brockman. We're just minutes away from bringing you the first election returns of the night. And trust me, we are just as excited as you are watching at home or maybe at one of the election night parties around town. Right now, our city clerk staff continue to input results from 3 counties, and we'll have those for you soon. Right now, I'd like to reintroduce our election night analyst for the evening. Joining me at the anchor desk, Rick Crandall. Rick, even though we've been giving some of viewers a sneak peek of the early returns with our little ticker at the bottom there, we're moments away from the big reveal.
Yep.
And I know you're excited.
Yeah. I wasn't sure, my first time doing this, right? So I'd come in, sit in here and hang out with the cool kids, and how am I going to react to this? I'm as excited as everybody. I can't wait to see these numbers.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's toss it over to Matt Peterson for our first returns of the evening. And we do want to remind our viewers a few things. First, these returns come from data entered by the Aurora City Clerk's Office, which they have gathered and compiled from the 3 counties that Aurora sits in. While we have a high degree of confidence in the accuracy of the returns we'll be presenting, we do want to stress again that they are unofficial. The official results won't be known for several days from now after the vote is canvassed. So with all of that in mind, let's now go to Matt with our first numbers of the evening.
Yeah, Wendy and Rick, this is the most exciting part. Let's really dive into those numbers. Not going to waste any more time. Let's see what we got going on in Ward 1 right here. Ward 1, Crystal Murillo, she is our incumbent, and right now she's sitting with the lead of about 1,500 votes. Now, if you shift back to 2017, she actually won Ward 1 with about 1,900 votes, so she's getting close to that mark. We have Bill Gondres. He's coming up about 300 votes shy, and Scott Leva sitting about 300 votes. So right now, as things stand, with many more votes to come, the incumbent, Crystal Murillo, she's looking pretty good right now. Let's pop over to Ward 2. We have Jessica Giamavo and Robert Hamilton. Giamavo is about 600 and Hamilton about 300. And let's see this other shift right here. This is where it's really getting close in Ward 2. We've got Steve Sundberg and we've got Brian Lindstrom, and they're the top 2 vote getters right now. But Sundberg, he's got about 1,000 vote lead on Lindstrom. We're going to keep a close eye on that. I'm going to imagine as the night goes on, this race is going to get tighter over here in Ward 2. All right, moving over to Ward 3, as you mentioned, the incumbent, Marcia Burzins. She is term limited, so that's going to give us some new blood in Ward 3. And right now, it's looking like John O'Scott with an early lead. He's got about 2,700 votes. Followed closely, Ruben Medina. He's got about 2,300. Again, this is going to be a tight race that we're going to monitor all night. There will be a new fresh face in Ward 3, and it's going to be one of these 2 gentlemen right here. But the big race, that's the at-large one. We have 6 candidates, so we're going to shift over to the big board. Everyone follow me over here. This is where things are really going to get interesting over here. Let's see if we can get all the numbers in here right now. We have Dustin Zavanek and Danielle Jurinsky. They are our 2 leaders right now. Zavanek at 18,000, Jurinsky at 16,000. Many more votes to come in. These are unofficial, but it's looking like right now the top 2 vote getters for the at-large race, Jurinsky and Zavanek, but many more votes to come. Wendy and Rick, we're just getting started here. It is pretty exciting, isn't it?
We're just getting started. Too early to draw any conclusions, but anything catch your eye?
Not surprised by Crystal's lead in Ward 1 early in the race. Not surprised there. I think in the at-large race, I think Candace has got a good showing early on in what we see in those numbers with Dustin and Danielle in the lead. But yeah, I don't think you're going to call any of them at this point in the evening.
Yeah. All right, well, why we don't have any voter turnout numbers for this year's election officially. Historically, we know that it's pretty low, especially in years when there is not a mayoral race involved. So what this all means is that sometimes just a few votes can change the outcome of an election. Now, in this special election perspective feature, I sat down with a young voter who represents a new generation of voters who understand the power and privilege of voting. Lupe, your very first election you got to vote in was in 2016, the presidential election. You had turned 18. What was that experience like?
It was really exciting, and I just feel like that experience was really just impactful and just kind of transformed me and my community in just so many different ways. I was, that one vote counted for not just for me and my family, but for everyone else in that community. I identify as Latinx, and the whole community at that time was like, what should we do? Who should we vote for? What organizations can we team up with to make our voices heard? So at that time, it was just really intense, but really exciting at the same time to be part of that count that mattered in just the future elections, and even the election that we had this last year. It just like a snowball effect kind of thing, but it was really exciting. I loved it.
Growing up in a Mexican-American family, is that something that you talked about, having a privilege, having your voice heard at the ballot box?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, generationally, we've just never really thought about voting. It wasn't something that was talked about or important, but when I first turned 18, it was that was the thing that I was most excited for, to vote. And yeah, I was just really lucky, and I'm really privileged to be able to vote, because I know a lot of people don't have the opportunity, and it's something that a lot of people, I feel take for granted. And everyone's vote counts. Everyone's voices should be heard in any election, no matter if it's a national election or even a small committee voting for something as small as I don't know, a fence or something in their community, or even right now in the local elections. I feel every voice should be heard, and every voice is important, and there's just so many opportunities out there to just rally up some people and get excited for those topics.
As you've gotten older, how have your feelings changed
about voting?
Yeah.
I mean, I voted the first time in 2016, and then again in the 2020 election. So I feel as I got older, it was more important, and I just saw how my vote impacted not just me and my family, but my community. And that's just really important for me to see, and see how I can just be that person for not just my family, but just be able to make a change, I feel like.
Why do you think it's important for young people to get involved early, start voting when they turn 18 like you did?
I feel it just provides you get smarter as you vote. You're okay, when I first voted, I remember I was okay, I'm gonna look up this, they sent over a pamphlet or something. I'm just gonna read it through. And based on what I read, that's gonna be my decision. But then I found out social media is talking about it, Twitter, there's articles online that talk about the different props and everything that people are voting for, and the pros and cons, and who are other people voting for, other organizations, who are they, what's it called when you endorse someone? So who are they endorsing? Why are they important and to be a part of our community? So it's just getting smarter about voting and encouraging other people to vote, I feel has become an important part of my experience starting early.
So your message to young people out there?
To vote. I feel every vote, I mean, they say oh, my vote doesn't matter, my voice isn't heard, but it is. Especially for this local election, I feel it's just super important with everything that's going on.
Thanks for sharing your story, Lupe.
Thank you.
So great to hear from these younger voters. I know in your work through veterans, they've made the ultimate sacrifice for us, and we are able to vote because of those sacrifices.
Yeah. I had a quote earlier today. It said, just remember that at some point in time, somebody sacrificed for your right to vote. And all of us have, I think it's an obligation to go ahead and vote based on that sacrifice for us.
It means a lot.
It absolutely does.
All right, we're going to take a closer look at Ward 1 right now. Matt has some numbers for us. Hey, Matt.
Wendy, Rick, howdy, howdy, howdy. All right, let's jump back into Ward 1. And we're seeing Crystal Murillo. She is the incumbent right there. She's still sitting at about 1,500 votes, followed closely by Bill Gondres, about 1,200. Now, what I found was interesting, both Arapahoe and Adams County, Murillo's taken about 50% of the vote, with Gondres taking about 40% and Leva the other 10. So it's really interesting that both of those counties are staying pretty consistent with how they're voting. And if you do want to flash back to 2017, Murillo actually upset the incumbent then with about 1,900 votes. She is getting very close to that mark, but I'm under the impression we have about 8 o'clock. We're going to have more votes come in, so check back with us then, as who knows what could really happen as these last-minute votes do come in.
Yes, exciting. Ward 1 is interesting. It's the oldest part of Aurora. There's a lot going on there, and housing, I know, is a big topic among the candidates in that race, and Crystal Murillo especially is very, very passionate about it. Now, we do have one of the candidates from Ward 1 about to join us live. I believe we have Bill Gondras. Hello, Bill.
Hi, how you doing?
We're great. Thanks for joining us. It looks like
Thank you.
Crystal is ahead of you by about 200 votes. What are your thoughts?
Well, the night, the fat lady hasn't sung yet, so.
Say that one more time.
You know how they say the fat lady hasn't sung yet?
She's not,
like
she's
in the
not
opera.
Singing.
Yeah.
Bill, tell us a little bit about your life. You are a veteran. You've traveled the world. I understand you speak 5 languages.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
What is it you love about Ward 1?
Oh, I love the diversity of the ward. We have so many hardworking residents that live in this ward that just try to make ends meet, and they're doing the best they can to raise their families and be in a safe, loving area to live in.
Now, I know your military career is what brought you to Aurora about 3 decades ago. You've been very involved. Tell me about the effort that you had to help clean up the alleyways in that district.
Yes, I started out in 2014 and wrote up an initiative, a 5-page initiative with the mayor and the city council at that time of ideas to clean up the city and to involve each department within the city, including the Aurora Public School System. They took my initiative and they implemented parts of it. Parts of it they haven't, but most of it they did. And so did the Aurora Public Schools, and implemented my ideas for them as well. I spent 5 years in different grants that I've submitted to clean up the alleyways, and I got money from the city and also from the city of Denver. 1 year, I got a grant from the city of Denver in 2018 to clean up our alleyways.
Hey, Bill, it's Rick Crandall, and first time running for city office like this. How many doors did you knock on, and what were those people on the other side of those doors saying to you? What did you hear from people that live in Ward 1?
Okay, I knocked on 4,760 doors and walked many, many, many miles. I hit the whole ward, each different section of the ward. I call them the boroughs. And I talked with the folks, took down notes. They gave me suggestions, ideas, and some gave me complaints. And a lot of people are just very upset about what's going on with the council, the deadlock that's going on with the council, with the members of the council. And they're also upset with the crime rate and the lack of security and what's going on with our Aurora Police Department.
Thank you, Bill, for being with us. We'll check back with you later as the results come in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, moving on to Ward 2, we have 4 candidates hoping to fill the council seat left vacant by the resignation of Nicole Johnston. Before looking at those returns, let's take a look at the Ward 2 candidates.
Ward 2 is located in the northeast part of Aurora and is the largest ward in terms of square miles. It features developments like the Gaylord Rockies Resort, the Aurora Highlands, and extensive warehouse and distribution centers. There are 4 candidates running for the Ward 2 council seat. Robert Hamilton is a native of rural Ohio and made Aurora his home 15 years ago. He graduated from Bowling Green University in 2003 and then completed an MBA at the University of Colorado in 2015. Mr. Hamilton has worked as a consultant and has more than 2 decades of experience in financial, operational, and information technology. He also applied to serve as the Ward 2 appointee earlier this year. Brian Lindstrom grew up in Aurora and has always called Aurora home. He attended Aurora Public Schools and today is a civics teacher at Hinckley High School. Lindstrom has served as a board member on the Aurora Education Association, which he said solidified his desire to serve the community. Before becoming a teacher, Mr. Lindstrom attended the University of Northern Colorado. Mr. Lindstrom previously unsuccessfully ran for city council seat in Ward 6 before moving out of that ward to Ward 2. Steve Sundberg is a longtime Aurora resident and manager of Legends of Aurora Sports Grill. He holds degrees from Colorado State University and the University of Phoenix. He currently serves as a member for the Aurora Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and is the chair of Leadership Aurora. He served in numerous other volunteer capacities over the past 25 years. Mr. Sundberg also sought an appointment to the Ward 2 council seat. Jessica Giamalvo is a systems software engineer in the private sector after first arriving in Aurora to serve at what was then Buckley Air Force Base. She decided against re-enlisting in 2016 to ensure that Aurora would remain her home. Ms. Giamalvo has a physics degree from Stonehill College and graduated last year from Colorado Technical University with a master's degree. She also applied to serve as the Ward 2 appointee earlier this year.
And as was the case in Ward 1, Ward 2 also straddles across Adams and Arapahoe counties. So the vote from each county must be added together for a grand total, which is exactly the number that Matt Peterson has for us. Matt?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump on in. And I think Ward 2 is just fascinating. You got the Gaylord Rockies out there. It's down near Denver International Airport. A lot of stuff going on in Ward 2 and a lot of stuff going on in this council race tonight. But right now, looking in the lead by a little shade under 1,000 votes right now is Steve Sundberg. There you go. You see him right here at the bottom of your screen. Brian Lindstrom, he teaches for the Aurora Public School System. He's about 1,000 votes shy right now. We have Robert Hamilton coming in with 365 and Jessica Giamalvo about 640. And as you might have heard in that piece, what I'm most interested in, you had Giamalvo, Hamilton, and Sundberg all ran to be appointed by City Council. Lindstrom was the only one who did not run to fill Nicole Johnston's seat earlier this year. But it's really interesting seeing it come down to Sundberg and Lindstrom, but we still have a lot of election night left, so stay with us to see what can kind of happen in that Ward 2 race.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Ward 2, we're talking Buckley, we're talking Gaylord, we're talking oil and gas drilling. A lot happening. A lot of it is still very undeveloped. One of the people who would love to represent that ward is Jessica Giamalvo, and she is joining us now live. Good evening, Jessica.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from my home office.
Are you?
Yes.
Well, we're seeing you as number 3 on the leaderboard right now. What are your thoughts?
Yes. So, it's, of course, as a candidate, you always, want to see yourself, coming right out of the gates with an early start. But it's great to see the votes coming in. Love to see the live coverage, and looking forward to see what the rest of the evening has.
Jessica, first time doing anything like this, at least in Aurora. What was it that motivated you to say, you know what, I think I could take a shot at this thing? What was it that you thought you could do that nobody else could do?
Yes, definitely. And this is the first time I've done anything like this here in Colorado or elsewhere. And, one of the things I've noticed, especially over the past few years, is that a lot of the issues facing our city council have turned into political debates without much resolution. Most especially with Nicole Johnston leaving Ward 2 early this year. We had a very split council, and it's frustrating, as a resident of Aurora to see city council working through issues and not really being able to get them resolved. We've still been seeing that again, especially with a lot of the council being split 50-50 right now, with 10 members voting as opposed to 11. So I really wanted to come in and be a voice of reason as opposed to some of the more bipartisan political background, and using critical thinking and sort of my background in science, listen to the people of Aurora and make the best decisions possible, and ensuring that we were making decisions and moving forward instead of being stagnant.
Well, Jessica, thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. She knows Ward 2. She's worked at Buckley, and she, like a lot of people, were tired of seeing a council divided.
Yeah, common theme. We're not done hearing that tonight, I don't think. I think we'll get that from a few more folks and a few more of their perspectives. Ward 2, though, we've talked a little bit about it. It's huge.
I live in Ward 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's huge.
It's huge. I'm in Murphy Creek, near the Murphy Creek Golf Course, and a lot of campaign signs, a lot of door flyers. Steve Sundberg, Dustin Zavonik, Daniel Jurinsky, they have all been very, very visible in that part of the city.
Yes.
And they're very active. And
you just think about all of the economic drivers for the city of Aurora that are in Ward 2. Mm-hmm. Pretty dang important. I mean, you mentioned it, oil and gas, Gaylord, Buckley, all there. The expansion east that continues to happen to 470 and across. It's somebody's going to have their hands full when they win this race, because that's a big task.
Somebody will have their hands full. It very well could be Steve Sundberg, because as we've shown the numbers, he is actually ahead tonight, and he's joining us now. Hello, Mr. Sundberg.
Rick and Wendy, hello, two people I admire so much. Hey, Rick, did you know that I worked with Wendy circa 1990 at a Perkins restaurant in Fort Collins, Colorado?
I heard that rumor here earlier this evening.
We were talking about that.
Wendy has not officially owned it yet, but...
Yeah, she was good at her job then, too.
Okay. We need a wider shot because we can't see where your beard ends.
Oh, God bless you.
Okay, yes, it's pretty long. All right. How are you feeling, sir? You're in the lead.
I'm just with friends and family. I feel supported. I feel encouraged. We've worked hard, and I feel good at this moment.
You had some interesting things to say in the candidates forum, because you're the manager of Legends Bar and Grill. You're a local business owner. You really want to be a voice for small business. And we were talking about minimum wage. Should we raise minimum wage? And you made some comments that even some of the cooks that you employ are making $21 an hour, well above.
That is correct. You know what the market is doing right now? There's such a shortage of labor that we are competing for the best labor. Those who are willing to work, we're bumping up wages naturally through the market, and that's just taking care of itself. I mean, it's not the $32 an hour minimum wage that some people are proposing right now, but we are getting up there, and people are hopefully prospering.
So why not raise the minimum wage in Aurora?
There are unintended consequences to it. For example, the tipped minimum wage is offset by $3. Let's say you raised it to $25, then servers would be making $22 an hour. And how do you operate a full service establishment like that? You'd have to go to counter service, for example. So there's unintended consequences to things like this. We want our staff to prosper, and so do so many small businesses.
Steve, you finding that the employment situation is getting any better? Are you finding more people that are looking for work? How's that?
No.
Yeah.
We are wondering where they are. Where are you guys? Let's work. I don't know where it's a funny thing. I don't know. Maybe people have transitioned out of the service industry to some effect, but I'm hearing it from other industries as well.
Steve, you've said the first thing you'd like to do is show your support for the Aurora Police Department.
Knocking on doors. My priorities changed. At first, it was more housing, and of course that's important. But knocking on thousands of doors, talking to so many hundreds and hundreds of people, their concerns are about crime. We can't reallocate funds away from our police force to other things. We have to support them, encourage them, show them that we value them. And of course, they have things to work on. They need to continuously build trust in the community.
Steve, when you were out there knocking on those doors in that large Ward 2 and putting the miles on your Fitbit, anything surprise you that you heard from the constituents in Ward 2?
Well, again, crime, it's sad when people want to leave Aurora. It's sad when people are concerned about the political climate, the uncertainty, so they're moving. I hate hearing about stuff like that. I've just met so many wonderful people. People have been patient for the most part, and I just learned a lot from people.
Well, Steve, the night is young. Hopefully we'll get to chat with you a little bit later as some more returns come in, but thank you for being with us.
Rick and Wendy, thank you so much. Talk to you later.
All right. Unlike wards 1 and 2, Ward 3 is completely in Arapahoe County, so there's no multi-county vote to be added together. Let's go right over to Matt Peterson for the latest returns in Ward 3.
Yeah, Ward 3, just in Arapahoe County, so that means the numbers are a little more digestible. But again, these are still unofficial. The night is young. We're going to have a lot more numbers coming in as we do progress throughout the evening. And as you may have heard earlier, Marcia Burson, she is term limited, so we're going to have a new face, some new blood in Ward 3. And it's down to these two gentlemen right here. We have John O. Scott and Ruben Medina. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a close race. They are only separated by about 450, 500 votes. I'm hearing another drop from Arapahoe County is going to come around the 8 o'clock hour. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. But right now, Ward 3, John O. Scott with an early lead, much more to come.
All right. Thank you, Matt. We'll be back with you shortly. Ruben Medina and John O. Scott, very different candidates. One would support the mayor's camping ban. The other would not support the mayor's camping ban. One would like to offer more housing for the homeless. The other, not so much. So pretty different choices.
Clear distinction, right?
Yes, clear distinction in Ward 3.
Hard based on how your own personal feelings are, who you would choose in Ward 3. Walkable neighborhood, something that Ruben Medina mentioned during the campaign that has stuck with me. He wasn't the only one to mention it. And it's made me think a lot about Aurora and how walkable are our neighborhoods as it comes to being able to get from home to public transportation and to live, to be able to get from your home to your store, because transportation is an issue for a lot of people in Aurora. So that's one thing that stuck out for me about Ruben. And then for Jono, just the pastor who is pretty high on getting that little entertainment venue in the Aurora Town Center.
And John O. Scott is joining us now live. Hello, Mr. Scott.
That guy.
Hi.
That's the guy. There he is. Hello. We have you in the lead tonight. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I've had a great group of volunteers and help friends, family, and just we're celebrating together. And it's a close vote. I thoroughly enjoyed this whole process. And enjoyed getting to know people in the community in an even deeper way. And I'm happy to be here tonight.
You've served on the Citizens Advisory Budget Committee, so you have a taste of what's going on in Aurora. But your background is primarily in biblical studies and religious education. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I grew up in the community here, Ward 3. I've lived here since I was 6 years old. I went away for 4 years of college and ministry, and was actually considering missions in the Far East, but then plugged into my local church that I grew up in, and then got involved with the community in many different areas, coaching soccer, and then in 2018, to make a very long story short, got involved in the budget committee, and thoroughly enjoyed that. In 2019, 20, and 21, my colleagues on the budget committee elected me as one of the 3 executive officers. So I've been one of the 3 executive officers on the budget committee for the last 3 years. Thoroughly enjoyed getting to know the city and would love to be able to be a part of that in a more deeper way.
You know, Jono, a lot of people talk about this Ward 3 race being maybe the most hospitable between the candidates in the race, the most civil in Aurora. And I would suggest, what little I know of you, and that maybe that would be the tone of your term on council as well, more of a uniter than a divider, right?
You are exactly right, and I would love to get to know Ruben even better. I've mentioned to him, and I've mentioned publicly, I think we would enjoy being each other's neighbors, and I genuinely mean that. I have tried my best on my side of things to be able to give him the honor and dignity that he deserves as a servant in our community, and I have nothing against him as a person. Definitely, we have differences of policy. But I would love to get to know Ruben in a better way. There were 2 things sent out with not my knowledge or approval about Ruben that discouraged me, frustrated me. But on my side of things, I have nothing but respect as far as the person of Ruben Medina.
Jono, it's great having you with us live. I'm hoping we can connect later as some of the returns come in. And if we need a prayer said for council, You're our guy.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
Thanks, Jono.
Thank you very much.
All right. We have come to the end of our first full hour of election night coverage on Aurora TV. We've got more returns and analysis along with some special interviews, including our own Mayor Mike Kaufman, who will be joining us in the studio. So stay tuned and keep it right here on Comcast channels 8 and 880 and auroratv.org.
Hola, mis amigos. I am Lindita of Lindita's Kitchen, and I'll be joining Aurora TV to bring you traditional recipes just like this and other cultural recipes. I'm going to have some special guests. We're going to go on some field trips. We're going to be grilling outside. Yes, right here from Lindita's Kitchen Outdoors. So join us here on Aurora TV and spice up your life with Lindita.
It's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Live from the Aurora TV studio at the Aurora Municipal Center, this is Aurora Votes Election Night 2021. Tonight's coverage features the first available election returns, interviews with candidates, analysis of the results, and special guests. Now please join us for Aurora Votes Election Night 2021.
Hello, welcome back to our second hour of Live Election Night 2021 coverage here on Aurora TV. I'm Wendy Brockman. Some of you may be just tuning in tonight, so let's start by reintroducing our election team. Joining me here on the anchor desk is a newcomer to our election night coverage, but he is probably a familiar face and maybe even voice to many of you. Rick Crandall, former KEZW radio host and president of the Colorado Freedom Memorial Foundation. Hello, how are you enjoying our election coverage?
You know, I like this. After all those years of being accused to have a face for radio, I actually get to be on television for a change. So, you know, this is a big step in my career.
You got it going on.
So thank you for that.
All right. So exciting night. I know you're a longtime Aurora resident. You know a lot of the candidates, and this is a big night for City Hall.
It's a really big night. And, you know, at our very heart, all of us Aurorans, we just want what's best for our city. We want our city to move forward, to be great. We're headed that direction. Tonight will go a long ways towards determining that.
It will. And the one thing I notice is we kind of have some high school rivalries that are developing with our candidates. Crystal Murillo in Ward 1, she went to Smoky Hill. Daniel Jurinsky, the at-large candidate, went to Overland. Brian Lindstrom went to Gateway, but he teaches at Hinckley. And Candace Bailey, an at-large candidate, went to Rangeview.
Wow.
Now, where did you go?
Aurora Central.
You're AC.
Aurora Central, sadly missing from the campaign trail.
Sadly missing.
Yeah.
Not in the rivalry. But I love the fact that these are candidates who have grown up here.
Yes.
They went to school here and they're raising their families here. They own small businesses here. They've been associated with Buckley. You know, we have veterans who are running for office.
You know, it's a good indication that not all the good people decided they didn't want to be politicians, because how many people do you know? I know. Me me personally, I'm not going to run for office. Are you kidding me? What in the world? Who would do that?
Who would?
Thank goodness there are good people that are doing that, and we're meeting them tonight.
Yes, they're not doing it for the money. They're not doing it for the recognition. And Aurora is, we're the third largest city in the state, but we do have a small town vibe that Denver just doesn't have.
Yeah, well, I suppose that happens, but an In-N-Out opens and we line up around half of the city in cars and wait 14 hours to get a hamburger. Yeah, we got a little small town still in us.
Well, you were talking about the McRib at McDonald's earlier, so that's a whole nother thing.
What time are we done?
Yes, I know. You're very excited about the McRib. Okay, well, let me introduce the other member of our coverage team in the studio tonight. Matt Peterson has been doing a fantastic job with the returns. He is our Howard Cosell of the night. Matt, what do you have for us?
Yeah, the quicker I get through these numbers, the quicker we can eat McRibs. So we're gonna breeze through these. No, I'm just playing. All right, let's bring up Ward 1. Let's get these numbers going for us. Crystal Murillo, she is our incumbent right now, and she is holding a slight lead over Bill Gondrez. Now, if you might remember back in 2017, Murillo actually won that ward with about 1,900 votes. She's creeping up on that total, but looking like we've got a two-horse race between Murillo and Gondrez in Ward 1. Let's go ahead and shift over to Ward 2 right now. Ward 2, we have Jessica Giamalvo and Robert Hamilton. Now, both of these individuals, they did run to be appointed by City Council earlier this year when Councilmember Nicole Johnston stepped down to move to Colorado Springs. But the real close race in Ward 2 is between these two individuals right here. We have Steve Sundberg and Brian Lindstrom. As you can see, Sundberg holding about 1,000 vote lead, but I'm hearing at about 830 actually, as we're going to get another drop from Arapahoe County, and we could either see that number shrink or we could see that number grow, but I'm really looking at these two right here in our Ward 2 race. Let's shift over to Ward 3 right now. Ward 3, we've got Ruben Medina and John O. Scott. You might remember Marcia Burson. She is term limited, so we're going to have new blood. Very close race right now. John O. Scott got about a 400 vote lead. Who knows what could happen the rest of the evening. All right, let's head over to the big board. We've got 6 candidates in the at-large race. That's why I'm taking you to the big screen. And it's looking like right now, Dustin Zavanek and Danielle Jurinsky, those are your top 2 vote getters. And you might remember at large, you just got to be one of the top 2. Doesn't matter if you come in first, doesn't matter if you come in second, you still will earn an at-large seat. Looking like Zavanek and Jurinsky right now, much more to go. We have John Ronquillo and Candace Bailey, as well as Miss Becky Hogan. They are not too far behind. At-large race, still way too close to call, as are wards 1, 2, and 3.
All right, Matt, thank you. Joining us now in the studio should be a familiar face to almost everyone in Aurora. We have Mayor Kaufman with us. Hello, sir.
Hey, good to be here.
2 years ago, you were anxiously watching the numbers as you were elected our mayor. So you can empathize with the drama going on tonight.
Boy, I can. And so, it is so early to think about who's going to be ahead in this. I mean, obviously there are people that are ahead, but that in my race, I mean, I was way ahead on election night. And it was the votes that needed to be counted, actually the votes that came in on election day that needed to be counted. So it took literally days and I won by less than 300 votes. So I think it's the night is young.
The night is young.
The night is young.
Well, at the very least, you're going to have 4 new faces on council.
There will be 4 new faces. I mean, we had 5 seats up and 4 were without an incumbent. And so I think that's fairly unprecedented in this city. And so there's going to be a lot of fresh faces on this council.
You need it.
You like that? You like getting fresh faces, new voices?
I think so. I think people bring in a different view, particularly the people that have lived in Aurora a long time. Steve Sundgren, having been a small business owner of Legends. I owned a business across the street from him for about for his family-owned business for about 17 years, and so he's the family has been so involved in this community. And there are a lot of people like that are running that are very impressive.
Some have compared the first few months as a new council member as, kind of drinking through a fire hose. What advice would you give them as they begin to kind of wade through everything that's ahead of them?
Drink through that fire hose. I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, there is so much. I mean, we are now the 52nd largest city in the United States by population. We may be a suburb, but we have the urban challenges of, quite frankly, of poverty, of race, of crime to deal with, and so that there is so much, and for all of them, this is their first office. Right. And so to come in, when we were growing up here in Aurora.
Years ago,
decades ago, there was Mayberry, what?
Yeah.
And it was a small town. And boy, now it's a big city.
We were still getting newspapers from the guy on the bicycle on our porch back then, right?
We were. Were you one of those guys?
Yeah, I was.
Oh,
yeah. Denver Post, 10 cents a copy.
I did mowed lawns.
Well, and the big question, here locally and across the nation, from school boards on up, is the blue wave going to continue, or are we going to see more conservative people in politics?
I think what we're seeing is a very predictable trend, and that is that in 2017, 2019, what we saw was when Republicans held, when any party holds the House and the Senate in Washington and has the White House, it's almost like there's I think there's a correction, and it goes all the way down, even to the local level, and we see that, and so we saw a big correction in 2010 on the Republican side. We saw a correction in 2018. When Democrats took the House and took the Senate, but those things filter down, and certainly candidates make a difference on their own. But there is a trend, and so I think that if you look at Virginia right now as a bellwether race, the Republican is leading in that race, and it's really a reaction to what's going on in D.C. It's probably even more than the candidates themselves.
Speaking of candidates, some of the council candidates have mentioned, you've heard it, that folks in Aurora are a little concerned with, what they seem to be at loggerheads on council, right? It's been a tough last couple of months. And the residents have watched it and winced a little bit. I think you know that. Here's a chance now with this election and filling that one seat.
Where there is a majority.
Right.
On either side.
Right.
There will be a majority. But the fact is, I hope that that council going forward has the ability to work together more on these big issues. But the fact is that I think that this electorate, I know that among the so-called chattering classes in politics, that seems to be the salient issue. I think it's about crime. I think it's about what we're going to do about homelessness. I think it's about those sort of bread and butter issues that this council and myself as mayor better deliver on. I think that's was really pushed a lot of people to the polls.
Transportation, there's talk about this road maintenance deficit.
Road maintenance deficit, our roads are in terrible shape. That is probably it's a problem that people in the know are aware of. I don't think people that don't follow Aurora politics closely are probably aware of it as much as they're going to be soon if it's not fixed, because you're going to be beyond road maintenance. You're going to be doing road reconstruction, where incredibly disruptive, incredibly costly, where you're tearing up whole streets and having to completely build a new one.
And then economic development. We're poised to, we're in a position that's so unique in Aurora.
I think Aurora has the most incredible potential from an economic standpoint, that the demand is here. As long as we have the right economic policies, I think we're going to see incredible growth, the right kind of growth, not just residential growth, but commercial growth, bringing in jobs that pay a living wage.
Well, where are you going to be watching the results coming in over the next hour?
Right now, I'm going to get Mookie.
Well, you're going to go get. You better let your dog out.
Yeah. If I don't get Mookie by 9 o'clock, let me tell you, Mookie has to stay the whole night in doggy daycare. So, Mookie will not forgive me.
Yeah, no.
All right, then you tend to Mookie.
Yeah, Mookie is not running. I just want you to know, Mookie is not threatening. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to say, but let me tell you, people would vote for Mookie over me any day of the week. I put a post of Mookie on my Facebook page for mayor, and oh my gosh, all the positive comments that Mookie got. I'm in the picture too, but I'm sort of chopped liver in the picture. I mean, Mookie's getting all the attention.
Well, he's got those eyes, the two different colors.
Yeah. Two different colors, kind of typical in our herding dog. Half Catahoula, half terrorist.
Go home and let your terrorists out.
Yeah, go get Mookie.
Okay, thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks for dropping by.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Earlier, we brought you a special election perspective of a young woman who was excited to begin voting as soon as she turned 18. In this next election perspective, we shift gears and meet a woman who immigrated to the United States years ago and after a lot of hard work became a citizen and voted for the first time in 2020. Lydia, you voted for the first time last year after you became a U.S. citizen. What was that like?
Yes, I did vote. It felt so, I felt empowered, after becoming a U.S. citizen. I said, okay, now I can make my voice be heard. And that's one of the ways to make it happen. And also, every vote counts, no matter where you're from. And so it was very, I felt very proud of myself for doing that. And I went in person to do that because I wanted to have the in-person experience.
You wanted
the first
to be
time
there,
voted. Yes.
have that ballot moment. Mm-hmm. So growing up, is that something that was talked about in your family? You're from Venezuela.
Yes.
Having a voice, is that something that you knew was important, that you'd want to do?
Yes. Back home, when I was there, I can't remember from the top of my head how many times I voted, but I think it was twice that I had the opportunity, or maybe 3 times to vote. And yes, that's a way to exercise, that civic muscle that every citizen has.
What was that experience like in Venezuela compared to here?
Well, to be honest, long hours of lines, that you have to be there, and things don't work quite as well as they do here. So compared to here, I prefer go voting here.
Do you think people in the U.S. take their right to vote for granted?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And then they start, complaining and making opinions. And if you have that right to go and vote and those people elect those leaders that are going to be doing things not only for you, but for the community that you represent. So it should be exercised, that right. And I know that once I became a citizen, I know that that's one of the most important rights that a citizen has, is the right to vote.
Thanks for sharing your story. Mm-hmm. When you talk to immigrants, they are so appreciative of their right to vote. It is a powerful, powerful thing.
It's a lesson for all of us,
isn't it?
It really, truly is. Those of us that get complacent about it, those of us who just take it for granted, those of us in an off-election year like this year think, it doesn't really matter. There's no big races. We're not voting for governor or president or any of that. It always matters. Every time we do this matters. And you can learn that lesson from immigrants.
Yes. And traditionally, new voters, 18, 19, 20, early 20s, you don't see a big turnout from them.
Right.
But I think moving forward, we might start seeing younger voters getting involved sooner.
I agree with you. I really do. And what a good thing.
Yes, it's nice to see. All right. Although voters could have been, Oh, we're going to go to Matt? Okay, thank you. I need a little guidance there. Matt, you have some numbers for us.
Yeah, Wendy, come on. You want the numbers? You got to come to me. I'm going to break it down for you. And let's talk about at-large. At-large sounds fun to me. That's what I want to talk about, so that's what we're going to get. We've got 6 candidates running in the at-large race, and the biggest thing you need to remember about at-large, there are 2 seats available. Doesn't mean you need to come in first place, but you at least want to be in second place. And we have the who's who of candidates right here. Any one of these 6 would do a fantastic job. But right now, it's looking like Dustin Zavanek and Danielle Jurinsky. They are in the lead. lead, Zvonik with about 18,000 respectively, while Jurinski's got about 16,000, but we still have a lot of competitors who are not too far behind. But why don't you walk over here with me? Let's get a closer look at the faces of Zvonik and Jurinski right here. Those guys, I'll step onto this side next to Ms. Jurinski. As you can see, they are our top two vote getters at the hour. We still have a lot more votes to be tabulated. Now, I've been looking on Twitter, Snapchat, MySpace, Facebook, everything. I'm hearing 8:30 now is when we're going to get our next drop. So we could either see these numbers grow or we could see the lead shrink. But as right now, unofficial results, we have Dustin Zvonik and Danielle Jurinski. They are in the lead in your at-large race. Zvonik 18,000, Jurinski 16,000 respectively. But Wendy, still a lot of time to go, so let's not count out the others. A lot of great candidates in this at-large race.
Yes, you bet. And we know a lot of people wait to the last moment to vote, so we're going to be getting those results in. The two at-large candidates who are ahead, Dustin Zvonik and Danielle Jurinski, thank you, were actually the two that were endorsed by outgoing at-large council member Dave Gruber.
Yes. And they were the two that you would often see paired up when they were out in the neighborhoods canvassing and going door to door. And it was not unusual to see both of their yard signs in the same yard because they were that tandem. And you know, maybe that's the campaigning of the future, where you go with another candidate and pair it up and go together.
Yeah, we could see more of that. Definitely a diverse group. And the one candidate in the at-large race who has probably the biggest name recognition is Becky Hogan, former First Lady of the city of Aurora. And she joins us now. Hi, Becky. How are you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I remember it was 2 years ago on election night, you were down here at City Hall and you said, boy, I would love for this city council to find a way to come together. I would love for them to work together. And that hasn't happened, I don't think, to your standards, and that's probably why you decided to get involved.
Yep, you are absolutely right, Wendy. And it has been an honor to run this race. With the early preliminary votes in, it doesn't look like I'm going to prevail. But, you know, politics is playing the long game, and it's important to keep that in mind. I think that the folks that ran excellent campaigns. All of us did. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that for our city. But it is still my desire to see our city become one Aurora again.
Becky, you know, I am glad to see you smiling. I've got a long relationship with Becky and with Steve. I think the one thing that I'm the most proud of your campaign is how you introduced us to the variety of cultures that live within our city limits. That was a real focus for you, to be a part of those communities so they know that their voices were being heard. So I think you made a point of that, right? That was a focus of yours.
Yes, and the one thing after all elections is the sun comes up and you live for another day. And if I am not prevailing in this race, it doesn't mean that I stop serving our community. And it is my sincere hope that all candidates feel that way. Because when you run a race, it's tough. But when you serve the community, it does bring joy.
Becky, I know, you've talked about the police department being under scrutiny and crime is a priority of yours and, the city recovering from a pandemic. What would you like to see this council do right off the bat?
Open up City Hall. I think it's very, very important to have our City Hall opened because it's our city. It's just not folks that work in the city. And I recognize that that's not an overnight type of thing, but I'd like to see a plan that opens up the city to the city residents again.
And when you say open it up, you mean because of COVID? I mean, let people back in the building.
Let people back in the building, get employees acclimated to working in the office with their other teammates again. And all of that takes time.
So let me ask you the really way too early question, but that's all right because I know you'll forgive me. So if tonight doesn't play out exactly as you had planned, was there enough in this that intrigued you that you might do this again?
You never say never, and you have to look at the opportunities before you. I think that there is always a difference between people of influence and people of position, and I have to find which will be the best as far as effectiveness in the city of Aurora.
Well, Becky, Rick and I were talking about the Stephen B. Hogan Parkway, how much we smile every time we take that road, and I know you do the same too.
Absolutely. And it's, a pathway to the Colorado Freedom Memorial. So how could you lose on that? A shameless plug? No.
Oh, you are such a treasure. Becky, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Have a great evening.
Thanks,
you.
Just warmth comes from, people in Aurora just love her.
Yep.
All right, well, just like that, we've come to the end of another half hour of election night coverage here on Aurora TV. We've certainly got more returns and analysis ahead for you, along with more interviews, so maybe grab a snack or two. But stay tuned and keep it right here on Comcast Channels 8 and 880 and AuroraTV.org as our live election night 2021 coverage continues.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, have you heard AuroraTV.org got a virtual makeover, and we want you to check it out.
Gearing up for the day, we all know that Colorado weather can be pretty unpredictable. That's why we added a new weather weekly forecast. While you're there, check out our local traffic cams in real time. On the homepage, scroll down to the very bottom to see what's trending on the city's Twitter and Facebook page. Remember, you can still watch live programming, search for videos by category like arts and entertainment, or an entire series like City Council or our weekly newscast, Aurora Now. Scroll down and find each show's related links and stories. Want to search for your favorite segments? Click on the video's link and type in a keyword. Get this, sharing stories to social media is super easy. Just click on the Facebook or Twitter icons and voila! AuroraTV.org, your city, your community, your Aurora.
Live from the Aurora TV studio at the Aurora Municipal Center, this is Aurora Votes Election Night 2021.
Welcome back to Aurora TV's live coverage of Election Night 2021. I'm Wendy Brockman. Tonight we've been covering the election of 3 ward council members and 2 at-large council members for Aurora. Joining me this evening in the studio here at the anchor desk is a man some might call Mr. Aurora because of the many community activities he seems to have had a hand in, including president of the Colorado Freedom Memorial Foundation. If you've not been out there, the beautifully and emotionally stirring Colorado Freedom Memorial is just north of 6th Avenue on Telluride. You and your family certainly won't be disappointed with a visit. Did I do a good job of plugging the memorial?
Yes, you did.
Good.
Thank you very much.
You're looking to expand out there, aren't you?
Yeah, I think we're not maybe 2-3 weeks away from a big announcement about something special coming up.
Like a visitor center
Maybe
kind of. Okay,
kind of
I won't
thing.
say anymore.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been an exciting night. This is a big transition moment for Aurora City Hall. We have a council who has been deadlocked on so many issues, and tonight is an opportunity for that to flip.
Yes.
And we're seeing some potential changes on city council.
Yeah, we certainly are in the numbers that we've seen so far. And you know what is really refreshing is seeing these interviews with the candidates that we're having, the people we're getting a chance to talk to in the middle of their big night. And they've still got big hearts. They've still got, Aurora in their best interest. And I really think that the whole spirit of the thing is just, I'm really refreshed by what's playing out in front of us tonight.
We've got some good candidates.
Yeah.
Well, the other member of our coverage team in the studio tonight is Aurora TV's Emmy Award-winning producer, Matt Peterson.
What?
Matt, I gave Rick a big build-up, so I wanted to give you one too.
Yeah, I got $20. I'll give you later. I appreciate that, Wendy. I'll make sure you get what's coming to you. But what's coming to you guys at home are numbers, of course, and I keep promising we're going to have an update. And unfortunately, I haven't seen one quite yet, but I do feel like it's coming. But anyway, if you are just joining us, let's go ahead and dive into what we got. We're going to bring up Ward 1, Crystal Murillo. She is the only incumbent running tonight, and right now she is holding on to a slight lead over Bill Gondrez, about 300 votes. As I mentioned earlier, Murillo, she won Ward 1 with about 1,900 votes back in 2017. She's creeping up on that number, and when we do get a new vote dump come in, we're going to take a look at that. All right, let's check out Ward 2. We have Jessica Giamalvo and Robert Hamilton. Both of these individuals right here, they did run to be appointed by City Council when Nicole Johnston stepped down from her Ward 2 council seat to move her family to Colorado Springs. They're still in the low hundreds, but let's get to the next slide right here where it's a little more competitive. We've got Steve Sundberg and Brian Lindstrom, again, still separated by about 1,000 votes, and we are waiting on another return from Arapahoe County to see where things can kind of go from there, if Sundberg's lead's going to grow or if Lindstrom's going to kind of catch him on that back end. All right, moving on to Ward 3, we have new blood coming in. Current council member Berzins, she is term limited, and right now John O. Scott holds a slight lead over Ruben Medina. Going to keep a close eye on this one. I would imagine it's going to shrink as the night goes on, see what things will prevail. Moving on to our at-large race, and the crucial thing to remember about the at-large race, we are looking for the top 2 vote getters, first or second place. And right now it's Dustin Zavonik and Danielle Jurinsky. They are in the lead, but not by much. We have Miss Candace Bailey as well as Dr. John Ronquillo coming up in 3rd and 4th respectively. When that new vote dump does come in, I'm kind of expecting things to get even tighter there. We have 6 amazing candidates in the at-large race, as well as everybody who's running for the ward seats. And I'm curious to see how things are going to shake out. And Wendy and Rick, it takes a lot of guts, a lot of passion to run for city council. I know it's something I could never do. So no matter how anything plays out tonight, a lot of respect for all the candidates who did run.
All right, thank you very much. Super job you're doing tonight. Rick, we're still quite a ways away from any sort of final numbers, of course, but any overall thoughts on how this evening is unfolding so far?
If you tend to be on the right side of the issues, maybe you're surprised by some of the returns that you're seeing so far. If you're on the left side of the issues, maybe you're surprised by some of the, it's one of those things where we're still early enough into this where everybody's going, ooh, really? Oh, man, I hope that changes. There's a lot of, I hope that changes still on people's mind right now as we're waiting. This next batch is really going to define a lot of, I think, how this plays out the rest of the night.
I think it will too.
Yeah.
And you've been in Aurora for a long time. The mayor talked about that. You both went to Aurora Central High School and are, raised families here. How have you seen Aurora change?
Yeah, where to begin? Holy cow. I mean, first off, I was here before 225 was here, right? So this part of the city was still a combination of farmland and some ranches out here and big expanses. Parker Road was 2 lanes from here past Parker, 1 lane each direction, right at Peoria. I mean, it's exploded. I mean, it has. It's the 3rd largest city in the state of Colorado and growing, and with the potential of at some point being the largest city in the state of. Imagine that. And a lot of these candidates were asked about the city-county issue. Should Aurora become a county? beyond just the
Yes.
city, but a city county. And I think I sensed a little more optimism for it than I've seen in the past. It's still years away from that happening, but we're big and we ain't done getting big.
It's true, and what's happening with the Tri-County Health Department is an indication of that. Douglas County has decided to part ways. Adams County has now decided to part ways. So Tri-County Health Department went to a bi-county and now just county. Is Aurora big enough to be its own city and county? There was some discussion about that in the candidate forums, and it's a costly. It costs money to do that, and I'm sure they'll discuss if that's worth it in the end. But we're at a point now where those conversations are happening. And
the other thing it's kind of the quiet thing that was big for Steve Hogan. I know he and I talked about it often, and there's a lot of people that in the community that have talked about it, but it's never gotten the momentum it needs. Is having a cultural center, having an entertainment. You're right, a fine arts. Lone Tree has one. Highlands, everybody has one.
Right.
Aurora. We need that facility. I think I would look to the next campaign of that maybe being an issue in the campaign.
And we've heard the candidates in Ward 1 talk about that.
Yeah.
Ruben Medina and John O. Scott both said that they were interested in seeing something like that happen. We have the Aurora Fox, which is our amazing historic theater
Beautiful
in Ward
place.
1. A true entertainment center. I think we're big enough to where we could
at some
have
time,
something like that.
We can build Gaylords and we can build all kinds of reasons, places where people can stay, but what do they do while they're here? And we need to become a destination attraction in that regards, I think.
Well, the ability to create and change and have your voice heard is a powerful motivator for many young voters. In this next election perspective segment, I spoke with another young voter who fully recognizes the power of their vote. Arturo, you voted for the first time in 2020. What was that experience like for you?
It was very positive. On that side as well is that it finally gave me the power to voice my opinion and voice what I want to change in the community, but also in our great nation as well.
Having the right to vote, having a voice, is that something that has been important in your family growing up? Did you learn that?
Yes, especially coming from a family of immigrants. It's very important to be able to voice our opinion and be able to get the community's input, especially coming from a minority standpoint. And being able to talk in our community is very important.
How have your feelings changed about voting as you've gotten older?
Obviously, at first, when I was younger, I really didn't want to vote. I didn't find it very interesting. But now, knowing how much change my voice can change in the community and in the United States, it's the most important thing, honestly.
What would you say to young people who just aren't interested in politics? I mean, what message would you have for them?
You don't have to be interested, but just know that if you do not vote, no change is going to come. Especially when you tell your friends not to vote and you're voicing your negative opinions, it changes the whole community as a whole. Just getting out and voting is a huge thing as well.
Thanks, Arturo. Yeah. So, Rick, we don't have any statistics from this election, but we do know historically younger voters have not had as high a turnout as older age groups. Do you think there could be a new energy shift with younger voters getting involved early?
I think there could be. Even my life experience with my grandchildren now who are knocking on the door. Our granddaughter voted for the first time last election, and just to see how excited she was that she was going to get to do that. And seeing it now, my grandsons who are getting close, I hope that's spilling over. It seems like it. These interviews that you've done have really given me encouragement. That,
it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Local elections are supposed to be nonpartisan, but do you think that increasing numbers of younger voters favor a political party, or do you think more driven by the issues?
No, I think they're issue driven. Personal experience. I can't back that up with any pure, we did this poll, but I really do think that they think less about party lines and more about community issues and what's important, what's going to help my neighbors, what's going to help us, what's going to make it easier for us, what's going to keep us safe. Kids know they know well about being safe a lot more than older folks, because it's the younger folks that find themselves in trouble often, right? So,
yes.
So yeah, they've got a command of the issues, I think, and I think that's what will drive their decisions.
All right, well, let's go back now one at a time through the races that we are covering tonight, beginning with Ward 1. In that race, incumbent Crystal Murillo is taking on two challengers.
Ward 1 is located in the northwest part of Aurora, and it features the Anschutz Medical Campus, the Cultural Arts District, and the Stanley Marketplace. There are 3 candidates running for the Ward 1 council seat. Bill Gondrez and his family first arrived in Aurora in 1992. After being reassigned to Korea, he returned to assignment at the Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center as a chaplain's fund manager. After retiring from the Army, Mr. Gondrez spent another 16 years as a hospital chaplain. While living in Ward 1, he's taken on several community service projects, and he served on a variety of local boards and committees. Currently, he is an educator at Kenton Elementary School. Crystal Murillo is a lifelong resident of Aurora and graduated from Smoky Hill High School in 2011. She continued on to the University of Denver, where she was the first in her family to earn a bachelor's degree. Ms. Murillo continues to serve her alma mater today as the diversity coordinator. She was the youngest and first Latina to be elected to the Aurora City Council in 2017. While on council, Ms. Murillo has served on several boards and commissions as a local government representative. Scott Leva returned to Aurora in 2015 when looking for an affordable home in the Denver metro area. He's been living in Colorado since 1996. He currently is employed as a state utility plant operator and previously served as an engineering director for a property management company.
Matt Peterson is standing by with some new results for Ward 1. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Miss Wendy. Yes, we do have some new results, although the numbers that did come in, very, very tiny. But nonetheless, let's check out our Ward 1 race right here. Crystal Murillo, she is the incumbent. Now, she is the only incumbent running tonight, and so far, things are so good for her. She holds a slight lead over Bill Gondrez and Scott Leva bringing up the rear with about 300 votes. Now, it's interesting. Ward 1 is in Adams and Arapahoe County. And if you dive into the numbers, Murillo is really picking up about 50% in each Adams and Arapahoe. Gondrez taking about 40% and Leva's taking the other 10%. So things still got a lot to shake out tonight. But right now, Crystal Murillo, she is the only incumbent running. And so far, so good for her. She holds a slight lead over Mr. Gondrez. But again, we're expecting more results to come in throughout the evening. And who knows what really could happen as those last-minute votes get tabulated.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Ward 1 is the oldest part of Aurora. It's very diverse. Actually, 60% of the residents in Ward 1 are renters. So affordable housing is a big issue everywhere. It's particularly in Ward 1.
Yeah. And on the north side of Ward 1 is that big beast that's knocking on the door, that whole redevelopment of Stapleton, the Stanley Marketplace up there now, new, looks like about a 4-level, residence going up there across from Stanley on the south side. It's changing, right? And there's a bit of discomfort, I think, that comes, hey, if I live there and all of a sudden my city doesn't look like what I remember my city looking like, you get a little anxious about that. So they're looking for somebody there to lead them that's got their best interest at heart and can do something about it.
That ward is contrast. It's all about contrast, the old and the new. Yeah, a lot happening there. Well, one of the candidates for Ward 1, Bill Gondrez, is joining us now live. Hello, Bill.
Hi.
How are you doing watching the numbers?
Oh, I'm doing fine.
The fat lady has not been singing. I haven't heard it yet.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about Ward 1. You've got the historic Aurora Fox Theater, and then you've got this Anschutz Medical Campus. Everything about it is new and state-of-the-art. You've got the old and the new in Ward 1, and it's such a special place.
That's correct. It's constantly changing, and because of the home prices are lowest in the metro area in Ward 1, we're getting a lot of new young folks moving into the rented homes, and so our rental percentages have really dropped in the last couple of years. We have a lot of young people moving in, and that's going to increase our attendance for our public schools as well.
Your opponent, Crystal Murillo, has talked a lot about affordable housing and wanting, people who are just starting out to have a place to live that they can afford. Where do you fall in that discussion of affordable housing?
Well, I believe there is no real affordable housing. I believe everybody, though, has a right to have some kind of attainable housing of some sort, because everybody should have hope and dignity and be able to live in a place where the weather is not going to get them, and where they could take care of themselves and grow and prosper.
Bill, I think Ward 1 needs the 94th Aero Squadron back. I think people who have lived here as long as I have, maybe you will remember that great restaurant that was right in Ward 1, right along the Stapleton runway, and you could sit and have dinner and listen on headsets to the tower. And it was made after an old French farmhouse, and it was the coolest place, and it burnt down. And I know a lot of us that have lived here a long time miss it. You're getting other great restaurants in there, though, is what I want to get to. On Montview there, there's, Carmen Gia and the others that are coming in there. Some things have happened there that are really very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a new Dublin, I believe it's called, restaurant, and the food is just, oh my God, it's fantastic food.
Yeah.
Yes, and we got, because we have such a high diverse amount of people in our ward, we're having all kinds of diverse restaurants opening up. Like we have a Honduran restaurant on Hanover Street, and again, the food is just fantastic, but not many people know about that. The locals do, but we need to get the word out to everyone. What great resources we have that are showing up and expanding.
Bill, thank you for being with us. We might check in with you a little bit later tonight as we're watching the results come in, but appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Well, when Nicole Johnson resigned from the Ward 2 council seat earlier this year, the door was opened for council to make an appointment to the seat. But after many long meetings and repeated attempts, they couldn't agree. So it is now up to the voters. Let's take a look now at the 4 candidates up for the job.
Ward 2 is located in the northeast part of Aurora and is the largest ward in terms of square miles. It features developments like the Gaylord Rockies Resort, the Aurora Highlands, and extensive warehouse and distribution centers. There are 4 candidates running for the Ward 2 council seat. Robert Hamilton is a native of rural Ohio and made Aurora his home 15 years ago. He graduated from Bowling Green University in 2003 and then completed an MBA at the University of Colorado in 2015. Mr. Hamilton has worked as a consultant and has more than 2 decades of experience in financial, operational, and information technology. He also applied to serve as the Ward 2 appointee earlier this year. Brian Lindstrom grew up in Aurora and has always called Aurora home. He attended Aurora Public Schools and today is a civics teacher at Hinckley High School. Lindstrom has served as a board member on the Aurora Education Association, which he said solidified his desire to serve the community. Before becoming a teacher, Mr. Lindstrom attended the University of Northern Colorado. Mr. Lindstrom previously unsuccessfully ran for city council seat in Ward 6 before moving out of that ward to Ward 2. Steve Sundberg is a longtime Aurora resident and manager of Legends of Aurora Sports Grill. He holds degrees from Colorado State University and the University of Phoenix. He currently serves as a member for the Aurora Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and is the chair of Leadership Aurora. He served in numerous other volunteer capacities over the past 25 years. Mr. Sundberg also sought an appointment to the Ward 2 council seat. Jessica Giamalvo is a systems software engineer in the private sector after first arriving in Aurora to serve at what was then Buckley Air Force Base. She decided against re-enlisting in 2016 to ensure that Aurora would remain her home. Ms. Giamalvo has a physics degree from Stonehill College and graduated last year from Colorado Technical University with a master's degree. She also applied to serve as the Ward 2 appointee earlier this year.
So those are the four candidates hoping to step into the role of serving Aurora's geographically largest ward. Let's go over to Matt and see how that race is shaping up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wendy. We're kind of hit that stagnant point. Not much is going on. Now, I know you folks at home, you're used to watching the Broncos offense and things really inching along, so you're kind of conditioned for this. But let's go ahead and check out our four running for the Ward 2 council seat. And as you heard in those profile, three of the individuals, including their leader right now, Steve Sundberg, they actually ran to be appointed by council when council member Nicole Johnston stepped down to move to Colorado Springs. The numbers have changed, not by a lot. Sundberg still holds a slight lead over Lindstrom. Let's step over here with me. Let's get a bigger picture of their beautiful, smiley faces right here. And we've got Mr. Sundberg right here. He is leading right now with about 3,100 votes. Apparently, we're supposed to get more drops coming in at 10 p.m. and at midnight from Arapahoe County, and that's where the big chunk from Ward 2 is going to come from. So we're not going to call anything quite yet. It's all unofficial, but right now, Steve Sundberg, he holds about a 800 to 900 vote lead over Brian Lindstrom, sitting at about 3,100. But again, a lot more to come.
Thank you. Rick, I know you've personally spoken with some of these Ward 2 candidates. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about them?
What I can tell you, pretty diverse ideas about the future. You know, oil and gas always comes to the front of the line as a discussed issue up there. And, you know, has it been over-regulated? Does it need to be regulated more? Always, you know,
right. And there was a distinction there. Robert Hamilton and Steve Sundberg both felt like the 135-page oil and gas regulations were sufficient. In fact, Robert Hamilton thought they might even be over-regulated a little bit. But then you have Brian Lindstrom. You know, he considers himself an environmental champion, and he did not think that they were making the grade. That's something that concerns him out there.
And that's a big deal out there with all the new development, all the housing that's going on out there, right? I mean, all the way up to Aurora Highlands and Painted Prairie and in that parcel up there by DIA. It's, you know, it's a topic of importance, but, you know, then you add in Buckley Air Force Base. And I think really, maybe with Dave Gruber's assistance in the last couple of years, we've become even clearer about the importance of Buckley to the city of Aurora.
Northeast Aurora has such potential. The mayor was talking about it. We have one of the candidates for Ward 2, actually the candidate who's in the lead, Steve Sundberg, is joining us now live. Hello, Steve. Congratulations. You're still in the lead.
Well, thank you, guys. Here I am at Launchpad Brewery, a wonderful local business that does a lot in the community.
So all the candidate signs that I have seen from you, I live in Murphy Creek, and you are everywhere, my friend. Are you the one who went out there and put all those in the grass?
Wow, I'm so grateful, sir, for some volunteers that went out and got that done in about 2 days. I was so pleasantly surprised to see them springing up around the neighborhoods. Thank you to them.
You know, you said something about, you know, wanting to have a voice for small business, and you said during the candidates forums, you know, what should the government do or what should city council be doing to help you? And you said nothing, just get out of my way.
Largely stay out of our way.
Yeah.
We can figure this out ourselves, and government does a good job of getting in the way of business at times. Not to say that certain regulations and requirements should be made to keep things, the environment healthy and safe.
Steve, you know, we can cut, I mean, we'll cut right to it, right? If somebody were to come walking in the door there at Launchpad right now and walk up to you and say, okay, dude with the big beard, why is it I'm going to vote for you? What do you tell them?
You know, I never wanted to do something like this. I love my city. I care for the city of Aurora, the quality of life that I've had here raising a couple teenagers, my immigrant wife from Rwanda. She loves this country, loves this city. I just sensed that the city of Aurora, city council, was being unfriendly to my way of life. I want to preserve that. I believe in the future of Aurora, especially out in Ward 2. Great things are happening there.
Steve, I've loved hearing you talk about your family. I know your wife immigrated here from Africa, and you have 2 kids, an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old. What do they think of this crazy thing that Dad is doing?
You know, if they were younger, I probably wouldn't do this, but since they're just active and busy, I can step away and take on this challenge more. But they're supportive, and they're challenging themselves in new ways now too. So as a family, we look to each other to do that.
I mean, honestly, if you go to Legends when Luke's in there, it runs a whole lot better than when his dad's in there anyway.
Right, I think you're right. He gets a lot of compliments on his service. He loves people, and you know, I love people too. I have been involved in our community for a long time. Our business does a lot giving and sowing into the community. And so I've established relationships, and that's been beneficial in this campaign, I believe.
Steve, if you are a council member, you going to keep the beard?
That's a good question. I might need to trim it back. It's been kind of a logo. I don't know. That's a great question, Wendy. Maybe we'll take.
All right. Think on that.
All right. I could be a good Santa Claus.
Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. All right, we have more election night coverage ahead, so keep it right here on Comcast channels 8 and 880 and AuroraTV.org as our live election night 2021 coverage continues.
Hola, mis amigos. I am Lindita of Lindita's Kitchen, and I'll be joining Aurora TV to bring you traditional recipes just like this and other cultural recipes. I'm going to have some special guests. We're going to go on some field trips. We're going to be grilling outside. Yes, right here from Lindita's Kitchen Outdoors. So join us here on Aurora TV and spice up your life with Lindita.
It's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Live from the Aurora TV studio at the Aurora Municipal Center, this is Aurora Votes Election Night 2021. Tonight's coverage features the first available election returns, interviews with candidates, analysis of the results, and special guests. Now please join us for Aurora Votes Election Night 2021.
Welcome back to our live election night coverage here on Aurora TV. I'm Wendy Brockman. I have been joined all evening here on the election night desk by Rick Crandall, who's been supplying us with his insightful commentary and analysis. Rick, thanks for being here tonight. We're heading into the home stretch this evening. We're starting to get punchy.
That's one good word for it, yeah. Good thing we're socially distanced, right?
It's a good thing we're socially distant, yes. But this has been exciting, hasn't it? I love to see local politics in action.
Yeah, it really has been interesting to see the reactions of the candidates, and good job for the whole team here for rounding them up and making them available. Thanks to the candidates for making themselves available. It's fun to see this in action. You know, too often you end up just sitting at home, right? You're on the couch watching some returns maybe, and okay. But to be here and to see it unfolding, it's still an exciting thing, this whole election deal.
Yeah. Well, the other member of our election night team this evening, bringing us the absolute latest numbers released right from the Aurora City Clerk's office as soon as they are available, is Matt Peterson. Matt, you're doing an outstanding job as usual. Are you ready for the home stretch tonight?
Yeah, I am definitely ready for the home stretch. I'm also ready to get some new numbers in here. We need some new stuff. We've been over this before, and let's get to it one more time in case you are just tuning in. We're going to go ahead and start in Ward 1, Crystal Murillo. She is your incumbent, and she holds a slight lead over Bill Gondrez by about 300 votes. I'm going to shimmy over this way as we bring up our Ward 2 graphic. Jessica Giamalvo and Robert Hamilton, they're kind of lagging behind. Both of these two individuals ran to be appointed after Nicole Johnston stepped down earlier this year. The closer of the two is going to be Steve Sundberg and Brian Lindstrom. Now, this number has actually shrunk just a bit from our returns earlier this evening. However, Sundberg still holds about a, 800, 900-ish lead. Let me try to do the math in my head. I can't. 800, 900 votes. Still a lot to go. Pop back over this way. And we got Ward 3. We're going to get some new blood in Ward 3. Longtime council member Marcia Berzins. She has been term limited. That means it's either going to be John O. Scott and Ruben Medina. And folks, this race is pretty close to outstanding candidates right here. Curious to see how the rest of the evening and days to come really shakes out for these two. But again, this is a very close race as we kind of go down into the home stretch. All right, shuffle on over here with me as we're going to talk about the at-large race. And for those who haven't heard my spiel earlier, remember, it is the top 2 vote getters. Those are the ones who are going to take the seats. Current council members Gruber and Hiltz, they are stepping down. That means we have 2 available seats. We have Zvonik and Jurinsky. They are in the lead. Now, if you flash back to 2019, 26,000 votes were actually the top 2 vote getters. Again, that was a mayoral race in that election. I would be absolutely shocked if anybody gets to 26,000. But still, we could have some movement. Dr. John Ronquillo, as well as Candace Bailey, they are not too far behind. And I got to give a shout out to Becky Hogan. She was on with us earlier. What an outstanding individual, an outstanding person, as the rest of these candidates are. It is definitely going to be a lot of fun as things shake out the rest of the evening.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, the 2 who were in the lead for the at-large race, Danielle Zurinsky and Steve Sundberg, right?
Dustin Zvonik.
Dustin Devonik. Oh, that's right. Dustin Devonik. Those are the 2 who are in the lead for the at-large race. And we haven't heard from them this evening. It would be great if we, if you guys are watching, hop on. We'd love to hear from you guys. Danielle Jurinsky, she has a really interesting background, a former military police officer. She worked for the Air National Guard at Buckley. And we had Steve Sundberg on earlier. He's the manager of Legends Bar and Grill. Danielle Jurinsky owns Steel Tips Bar and JJ's Place. I have not been to either of those 2 restaurants, but I am interested in going there now.
Yeah, and a single mom too, right?
Single mom.
She? Yeah.
And she's lived in 5 of the 6 wards in Aurora. So that makes her a great candidate for an at-large seat. She knows the metro area.
I've got great respect for the candidates in the at-large race. That's the whole city.
Yes.
Right? You're not just going, I got Ward 3. It's right in the center, and I know where. You're doing the whole thing. That's a commitment, and I applaud those candidates for taking that on.
Yes, I do too. And in the at-large race, we don't know what's going to happen because Candace Bailey and John Ronquillo are in a very close race for 3rd.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, if Matt would get us some numbers, we could figure this out. I mean,
it's really Matt's
He's got
fault
like one job, doesn't he?
No,
And
I
that's
know.
yeah.
He's trying. But we did have Becky Hogan on earlier today, and she said it looks like it's not going to go her way, and that's fine. And she is just so well loved in Aurora. Her husband, of course, the late Mayor Steve Hogan, we lost him in 2018, and she wanted to see a council, make a difference and make some changes, and she thought, why not?
Yeah.
Why not get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, quickly, because we peeked and looked, but in the statewide races, Proposition 78, 119, and 120, all in a little trouble.
They're all no votes right now.
Yeah.
They're all going down.
Yeah.
Yes, interesting. I'd love to get an update on ballot 1A, the continuation of the open space tax. We'll see if we can get that one for you guys. All right, I think we have one of the candidates joining us now. Jessica, hi, nice to see you again.
Yes, hi, thank you.
What are your thoughts on running for office now? Are you glad that you did it?
Absolutely. Yes, the votes are in and it doesn't look like it's going to go my way tonight, but I'm absolutely happy that I did it, and I think that I would consider running again as well.
What would you like to see for the future of Ward 2?
A couple of things, some of the really big issues that we're facing right now are the increases in crime rates. So I'd really like to see some action taken on that, as well as improved relationships with our police officers and our community. And I'd like to see our growth continue. As the largest ward land-wise in the city of Aurora, we have a lot of space to expand, and I'd like to see that taken advantage of.
Jessica, how much of your military background how did that serve you in this campaign?
It definitely helped me in the campaign. Buckley Air Force Base is a really important part of Ward 2, and I had the honor to serve there while I was in the Army. I think that it's important for our community to have a good relationship with the base. And also, the leadership experience that I gained while I was in the Army was really essential to not just my campaign, but the things that I would bring to office if I were to win.
Jessica, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of our democracy.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right, now let's toss it right over to Matt Peterson once more, who's standing by to give us the latest Ward 1 returns. Yes?
Yeah, let's do Ward 1. Let's go ahead. Let's pop on over to me. There where I am, Ward 1. I'm going to step off screen right now so you guys can get a good look at our candidates right there. Why don't you go ahead and zoom on in there, Devin. Let's see these three shining faces right there. We've got Crystal Murillo. She is our incumbent, and she holds a slight lead over Bill Gondarez, about 300 votes. Still a lot left to play this evening, but there we go. Numbers changed on air. Rick, I promise you, we get some movement. Look at that. That was exciting. That might have been the highlight of my evening. And it looks like Crystal Murillo, her lead maybe increased to close to 400 votes right there. But that was exciting. We saw the numbers change on there. Looks like the incumbent in Ward 1 still holding on to a slight lead. And of course, Ward 1 is a fascinating ward. A lot of stuff going on over there. So will be interesting to see what will happen in the days to come, even the hours to come, as this race either gets closer or expands.
All right. Thank you, Matt. It's a good time to remind our viewers once more that while we have confidence in the returns we're bringing you tonight, these are all unofficial. The official results will come out in a few days once the vote has been canvassed. Now let's go to Rick for his thoughts on Ward 1. Quite the burgeoning food and entertainment scene happening along Colfax in Ward 1.
Yep, along there, along Montview a little bit to the north there.
Yes.
The Arts District in between. There's such great potential there, and I think everybody sees that. Not only Crystal, who's the sitting council person, but the candidates, they recognize that, there's good things happening there. We get bogged down in the headlines of, crime is so high, and this and that, and it takes away from us being champions of our own city a lot of times, I'm afraid, and celebrating the good things that are going on here. Good things are going on in Ward 1.
Stanley Marketplace is such a fun place to go. It is a fun place. Have you gone?
I'm the board chair for Visit Aurora, and Visit Aurora moved their offices to the Stanley Marketplace.
Oh, they did?
So we have board meetings there now.
You have all those restaurants right there at your fingertips.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice place to go for a meeting.
I haven't been to Annette, and that is on my list.
I finally got to go a couple of months ago, and I can't believe I waited that long to go. It's fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
All right, well, as we've been mentioning, Ward 2 also straddles Adams and Arapahoe counties, so the vote from each county must be added together for a grand total. Our Aurora City Clerk compiles those numbers, and that total is what Matt has for us now. Matt?
Yes, Wendy, let's talk about Ward 2. We've got 4 candidates vying for Nicole Johnston. She stepped down earlier this year to Colorado Springs. And let's see who those candidates are and how we're doing right now. Jessica Giamalvo, you just saw her with an interview. Kudos to her for already thinking about running again if the night does not go her way. You got to respect and you got to love that. And it's really become a 2-horse race right here. We have Brian Lindstrom and Steve Sundberg. About 800, 900 votes separate them. Steve's been with us all night, and we truly do appreciate that. Other candidates, if you're looking to come on, talk to Rick and Wendy. Give me something to do. Give us something to do. We're really excited about that. But again, Steve Sundberg, he holds about an 800, 900 vote lead over Brian Lindstrom in Ward 2. And as you guys have been mentioning all night, Ward 2 is absolutely fascinating with all the growth going on over there. Big things to come from whichever candidate takes the seat.
All right, thanks. Rick, there was certainly quite a bit of drama this year surrounding Ward 2 and the attempted appointment by City Council of someone to fill the seat after Nicole Johnston resigned. Yep. What are your thoughts about what we're seeing so far in Ward 2 tonight?
I think it's probably the 2 candidates that are in the lead right now are the 2 that everybody suspected would be at this point in the evening. Yes. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, really. I don't think it's a surprise that it's still too close to call at this point in the evening. So, I think Ward 2, for all the dynamics and all the, what went on during the year in Ward 2, I think this is playing out probably a lot like people expected.
Brian Lindstrom, he actually ran for City Council 2 years ago in Ward 6.
Right.
Françoise Bergen defeated him in that race. And so he's since moved, now lives in Ward 2 and has run for that seat again. And he is a trooper. He's a civics teacher at Hinckley High School. That's right. And I'm wondering what the students in his class are thinking about him.
They're proud of him, right?
Working hard out there.
And what a great lesson it was for him to teach them, being engaged in this race and then being able to relay to them what the experience is
Sure,
like.
Exactly, real life. Well, Ward 3 sits in Arapahoe County, so they are providing us those numbers. Let's go back over to Matt Peterson for the latest returns in Ward 3.
Yeah, let's pop on over to me, see what I got going on. We are going to look at Ward 3 right now, and this is 2 candidates vying for Marsha Burzen's seat. She is term limited after 3 terms. Way back in 2007 is when 2009, I believe. My math is a little funky right now, but I do know numbers, and I know this right here. John O. Scott and Ruben Medina, they are neck and neck right now. Ruben Medina, he's only about 300 votes shy of Scott. Who knows what could happen? Arapahoe County is supposed to give us another update about 10 p.m. We could either see that lead shrink for Scott or it could expand, but this is what I'm really keeping my eye on. Very, very close. We're not going to know for a few days who's going to take home the Ward 3 seat.
All right, thank you, Matt. Voters in Ward 3 have 2 very different options with Ruben Medina and John O. Scott. What are your thoughts on the returns there?
This was one at the very beginning of the night, the 3 of us were talking. We said this would be close all night long. Well, it's the closest race right now of all of them, and I think that's exactly what we expected.
Marsha Burzen's has been the representative there since 2009. Yep. So they're going to have a new face regardless of what happens. We just don't know who it's going to be. And Marsha Burzen's, kudos to her. She has worked so hard. And you remember she ran for mayor 2 years ago.
Correct.
She was actually on the ballot for mayor.
And I don't think this means, poor Marsha, it's the end of the road. Nah, she's too engaged in this community to say, I'm not going to do anything. I would be very surprised if Marsha didn't pop up in one way or another in some, prominent role in Aurora.
She does so much volunteer work.
Yep.
I remember seeing pictures of her on her Facebook page, stuffing backpacks with school supplies for homeless kids and, serving on so many boards and commissions. I think that's just in her blood. She's always lived in Ward 3, and she's just passionate about it.
And Ward 3 and what it's been through over the years. I mean, this is part of Ward 3 here, right? Or we're at
the Aurora Municipal Center.
Aurora Municipal Center, Aurora Town Center. Mm-hmm. They've been through the tragedy of 720 as a ward together. They've been through this redevelopment now of the Town Center, that new field house that's there, and Joe Boyd and the team, all the work that they're doing over there. It's a ward that has been through a lot, has held together, continues to add new and exciting things to the ward, and You know, isn't that kind of interesting as we sit and go through all these wards tonight? Each of them have just such unique personalities.
Each one is so different.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have Jono Scott joining us now, the candidate in Ward 3. Hello, nice to see you again, Jono.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, and I just love the discussion, and I would argue that Ward 3 is the best of the wards that you just mentioned, but obviously I'm biased.
You think it's the best? Okay.
I'm not going to argue with you.
It's a good one. It's a good one. What are you looking forward to doing first if you are, in fact, the Ward 3 candidate?
Well, obviously, there's a space of some time between the election and the first thing, but I look forward to working with others. There's obviously been some quite a bit of dissension among the city council, and I look forward to working with the people on city council if I am indeed, if the results hold, and I am privileged to be on city council. I look forward to working with the others on council.
Jono, it's like running for council, you know, like that, it's a commitment. You know that. Certainly now at this point you do. The effort, the time. What life experience of yours, what have you drawn on at those times when you needed just a little bit more strength to keep going? Is there something that came to your mind and you said, okay?
Well, yeah, obviously, as a pastor, my obvious answer is my faith, my faith in Christ, and the strength I glean from Him. That's where I get my satisfaction and my strength. Practically in life, also, I would not only, that's my foundation, but also just the busyness of life. I'm involved in quite a bit of things. I just finished a master's degree that was taking me quite a bit of time, and so. Now I have more time on my hands, and I want to put it back into my community in loving God and loving others.
To add to the greatness of Ward 3, you would like to see an event center? That's something we were talking about earlier.
Yes, that would be great. And what a lot of people don't know, I remember because I grew up here, but the Aurora Mall has 3 theater storage area, and no one realizes it. Between Macy's and JCPenney, there's a huge, it could seat 1,000 people. And so that would be a good start. And on the budget committee, we came up with a 4-phase plan, but that would be one of the phases that we would love to bring to Aurora, and specifically to Ward 3.
Yeah, when I, straight out of high school, I had a job, during high school, had a job at the Aurora Mall, and remember those theaters really well. And the restaurant that was right across from it, right? Hamburger place that was right across from it. But yeah, I remember. Yeah,
my family spent about every week going to Chick-fil-A, and right on the backside of that was that theater.
Yeah. So. All right, it's time to get the storage stuff out of there, dust it off.
I agree.
All right, thank you, Jono, for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, we're going to send it over to Matt for some numbers.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk some numbers here, and we'll talk restaurants with Rick after. Every time he's mentioning old burger joints, I got to get more of that information. But let's jump right in. Let's talk about Ward 1. Crystal Murillo, she is our incumbent, and she holds a slight lead over Bill Gondrez. We're looking at about 350, close to 400 votes right there. Moving over to Ward 2, though, we've got a 4-horse race right there. Jessica Giamalvo and Robert Hamilton. They're a little bit lagging behind because it's really coming down to these two right here, Brian Lindstrom and Steve Sundberg. Sundberg holds about an 850, 900 vote total over Lindstrom as the night has been progressing. Moving over to Ward 3 right now, and just 2 candidates running to fill Marsha Berzin's vacated seat as she is term limited. Jono Scott, who you just heard from, he's got about a 300 vote lead over Mr. Ruben Medina. Still a lot of left to play, and this is a very, very, very tight race. We're really not going to have any clarity for days to come on what's going to happen there. So those are our 3 wards, Murillo, Sundberg, and Scott. Those are your early leaders. But let's talk about our at-large races. We have 6 candidates running to fill 2 vacant seats. And right now it's looking like Dustin Zavanek and Danielle Jurinsky. Those are your early clubhouse leaders. They hold about a 3,000 vote lead. Jurinsky does over 3rd place Dr. John Ronquillo. Candace Bailey not too far behind at 13,000. And again, just the top 2 do need top two are the ones who receive the council seat, and it's looking like right here, Jurinsky and Zvonik, they're both sitting at 19,000 and 17,000 respectively. But again, still a lot of votes to be tabulated. Anything could happen, but it is really interesting to see who these early leaders are in our clubhouse.
Well, you've done a fantastic job tonight, Matt.
I've had fun. I like being out here. I like talking numbers. I like talking election.
We should do it again in like 2 years.
Hey, sign me up right now. I'm going to reserve this spot.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Rick, your first election night with us here on Aurora TV. Yeah, it's coming to a close. Some thoughts and analysis for our viewers?
So it's always, 2 years we're going to do this again. We're going to have another election. And if you didn't vote this year, if you didn't think it was important, if you didn't think, of course, 2 years from now, it'll be another presidential election. So that'll have everybody ratcheted up and wanting to get back gubernatorial election. So obviously there will be more, but don't let that be the reason you decide to vote is because, wow, it's for president too. You know what? The president probably isn't coming to your house, but your council person from your ward may drop by and knock on your door, and you're going to have more of a relationship with them, and they're going to mean more to your day-to-day life. So be engaged in this process in your community. It is so important.
It's important. And school board elections as well. These are becoming, not the sleepy little local elections that they used to be.
Yeah.
Now, parents want to know who's on the school board.
That's right.
These races are being heavily funded, and we're seeing a big change with school board elections as well.
Yeah, gosh, politics when I was growing up seemed like it just it was a thing, but now it's a thing. I mean, it's at all levels. Homeowners association elections now are a thing, right? I mean, at every level of our lives, we're impacted by elections.
Okay. Well, I'm just getting word that we do have another candidate joining us live. We actually have John Ronquillo. Oh, yeah. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. Where are you joining us from? What's behind you?
I am joining from Dry Dock Brewing Company, the South Dock off of Camden and Chambers.
Very nice. Well, how are you feeling looking at the results so far?
The numbers so far, obviously, we're down, but we're not out. We know that Aurora and Arapahoe County sometimes comes down to the wire, and it could be a multi-day process. But at the same time, we might know later tonight, we might know tomorrow. We're going to wait and make sure that every vote is counted and that everyone has the ability to exercise their right to vote.
John, I live way too close to where you're sitting right now, and I'm fairly certain I know exactly what seat you're in. It's a good place to be. Right. It's a good place to be after a long journey. Talk about the campaign, the bits of the ups and the downs of it all.
Yeah, I would definitely start with the ups. And the ups is that we were able to talk to so many people in Aurora who care deeply about the city, the numerous communities that comprise Aurora, and the concerns, right? And obviously a lot of us put our best foot forward to try and earn their trust. If anything, building relationships has been a key component to this. Obviously, when you look at what drives campaigns in terms of resources, we were massively outspent, and certainly that factor is in, but we did our best to mobilize our troops on the ground, so to say, and get out the vote as best as we could. So we'll see how the rest of the night unfolds, and hopefully we'll know sooner than later.
Well, and John, you ran for State House before, too. I know you're interested in getting into this. Would you encourage other people to get involved in local politics like this?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, as a professor of public affairs, my main responsibility is to help educate public servants who are going to be good stewards of the public trust. And I would never denigrate anybody who wants to put themselves in an arena where they can serve their community. So I would absolutely encourage people, if they have concerns, if they want to get involved, find the best ways to get involved, build your networks, build that social capital, and get out there and serve.
All right. On that note, we will say farewell and good evening to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you both so much. Have a great night.
All right, you too.
We should say cheers.
Cheers.
What we should say.
Well, great job tonight, my friend. Wonderful having you by my side.
For for being the newbie here. You guys just went out of your way to make me feel welcome. And one thing I noticed, and I told my wife when I got home earlier today, I said, there's this whole big team there. There's a lot more people involved with it than any of you can imagine that are here putting this on. From Kim Stewart and the great communications team upstairs to folks on city staff that were role-playing for us during rehearsals, and then this Aurora 8 crew down here. We're really, really lucky in Aurora to have this television station available and great programming. I mean, they win Emmy Awards. One of them was about the Freedom Memorial, actually. I might have a picture of that Heartland Emmy, but everything I thought I knew about you guys was right, and tenfold. To all of you, thank you. You're pros. You're pros. You do a great job.
Right back at you. We encourage our viewers to go to the city's website for more updates and watch our award-winning news magazine show Aurora Now tomorrow evening for the latest results. Win or lose, we'd like to thank all the candidates for being a part of a process that's so important to a healthy democracy. Also, special thanks to all of you who took the time to vote. So for all of us here at Aurora TV, good night.